That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
It's Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm not going to be the best person to give a whole explanation here, but that's...
Booty! Sick! Booty!
Fucking deal with it. What are we really doing?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
A zebra in between a tarantula and an elephant
has been nothing more than a sham.
Yeah, we didn't play well, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got the job done.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
Oh, sex with the first cousin would indeed be incest. And
Right. Welcome to the Straight Red Card, where incest is certainly not encouraged. However, your stepsister is fair game. That's just the way it is. And I know a lot of people don't understand that. And somebody else was commenting and said, yeah, but it'll cause lots of problems, if you date your stepsister. You shouldn't. That's what we're trying to fight against. It's the stigma. The stigma.
Yeah. Sounds like your parents' problem, not mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your parents need to get over it. They're not related. Okay. They should, if your parents are related, then there are bigger issues going on there, i.e. their brother and sister. But anyhow, just to clear that up, was thinking on the drive home today because somebody brought their dog to work, right? And it was in the corner, and it's a cute little dog, and then at some point it starts licking its lipstick in front of the whole room, and it's just disgusting. And it brought me back to a moment. I just had a flashback when I was at
yourself, by the way. Yeah,
I was at this gal's house, and we were making out, and this was after a show, rock show, right, where I played. My band played, and we're on the couch, and we're kind of making out, and I look over her shoulder, and she's got this Great Dane, okay, and this guy is going to town on his big ass baseball bat, and it was such a turnoff. I had to say, can we stop and go out on the porch? Because I can't do this. Your dog is over in the corner licking his balls and his giant wang. And I was like, I can't, this is no longer romantic to me. We got to go somewhere else. So anyhow.
I'm waiting to see if Max has any form of expression, if he's actually listening to the show while he's waiting in the background as you're talking about your dog, your previous girlfriend's dog.
Yeah.
Or girl you're dating's dog.
Well, and also, go ahead, Greg. I was just going to say, if you bring your dog to work, make sure he's not a phallus licker, or put him away somewhere in a corner where the whole room doesn't see it. That's all I'm saying. All right. All right. The turn in the background says,
well, just brought back then real quick.
Sorry you had to experience that, Max, but we do this at the beginning of every show.
I'm glad I heard it.
Okay.
I don't understand what your issue is, but hey, to each their own.
Well,
it's what dogs do.
They do, and there's nothing you can do about it. They also fart too. That can ruin a whole romantic moment. So they should really theoretically be in the room with you while you're, being
well,
romantic.
you and I probably fart in that situation too, so we're not going to have it.
Speak for yourself. All right, Mr. Gassy. All right. let me read the turn in the background here. Welcome to the Straight Red Card, joined tonight by Max Bretos. He may prop up MLS, but at least that's better than me. Oh, he's already going after you like you're some MLS guy, which is not true. We've never said that about you on this show.
We had a nice discourse on Twitter earlier about that. But it's good. Let's get it all out.
Yeah, no. And listen, we just had Tact on with Brett Oppenheim because we disagreed with Tact on an issue last week.
What was the issue? I'm curious.
He was not real excited. He was nervous and rather pessimistic about Reyna's move to Nottingham Forest.
That wasn't the big issue for us though. Our issue was the term that he used for him as injury prone.
Yeah, he called him injury prone. He was pretty sure Reyna was going to get injured. And we were like, okay, listen, first of all, we're going to debate what injury prone really is. Fabian Johnson is injury prone. And so we had that debate.
Daryl DK is injury prone.
Yes. Right. Josh Gott, injury prone. Right. Let me finish this. I prop up a bald narcissist with amazing kicks. What? My wife,
too, by the way, Derek.
my wife fingered my stepbrother. Oh, wow.
What have I got myself into here?
You never know.
You never know. There's some real weirdos around here. All right, Jose Reyes for $5. Cheers, boys. What are your thoughts on the striker pool? Who are you leaning towards with Pepi, Sargent, Hadji scoring, and Ballo not playing well? Asked him out. No. What is
At the moment.
At the moment. Thank you. I always forget.
You're really boomerang it up there. Come on,
I
man.
know. I'm sorry. Hey, this is a good one to let you start on, Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Where are you leaning, brother?
Well, I'm still in that. I know that we've tried to create an argument in who is to the number 1, number 9, and after arguing so much about who it should be and having so many options, the fact that Folarin Balogun has arrived, even though he hasn't been optimal. Sorry, my son. Careful the wire. Jeez. I hardwired for you guys so I get better internet. I don't know if it's working, but I think it's going so.
No, it's working
well.
good. Yeah.
So Folarin Balogun gets 6 to 9 months a year before we could really bring that competition, because we were so long discussing who was going to be number 1. Ricardo Pepi has been phenomenal. When he plays, he scores, and for club and country, which is once you say that out loud, you realize how rare it is. So he is. I think we have a clear 1 and 2. Pepi could be number 1, and I think maybe we could discuss around Copa America, maybe a little bit after. But I think that should be Folarin Balogun's tournament. And then the big question is if the big tournaments, they bring in 3 strikers. I think they will, potentially 4. Yeah. And I think that one's going to be a kind of coming up at the end, because it would be Josh Sargent. And he certainly earned that. And I think what he did at the World Cup will bolster that in many ways. But Hadji Wright has been insane.
Right.
And that's it. I've really been, smitten with that progress. And I think he's there. Let's see what before Copa America. I'm sure not everyone wants to see it, but let's see what Jesus Ferreira does. I think he certainly has a claim to that. But the good news is 1 and 2 are firm. And number 3 will probably be Wright or Sargent.
Well, go ahead, Brett. Sorry.
I was gonna just talk about Wright really quick in that sense that he was scoring goals for Coventry
City. They were in the Premier League when I first started covering it. They might be there again soon.
Me too.
But yeah, so he was scoring goals up top for them initially, but then he got pushed out wide and he's been scoring goals out left. So we're struggling on wing depth at this point. So that
that could help his cause.
Vital reason there, yeah.
I mean, theoretically, since we're worried about wing depth, you could actually bring Sargent and Wright to cover Weah and Pulisic on the wings. And I know that means we're bringing 3 or 4 strikers, but listen, Sargent's shown he can play out wide, not a problem. And of course, Hadji Wright has been playing out wide most of the season, except for the last game that he just played. He started on top and of course scored again. So he's hot.
Maybe the bigger question is who would you bring as a winger? Because you have those top 2 starting wingers. Who's number 3? Because that's gotten pretty threadbare over the last 6 months.
Well, that's why I'm saying I think you got 4 now, and comfortably. I think you Pulisic and Weah are your number 1 and 2, and Sargent and Wright can be your backups. You don't really need to go get Aronson, who's not really playing much. There's no need to squeeze him in unless he's a vibes guy and you need to bring him. The only other thing I would say about the center forward spot is, yes, probably Balogun is the number 1 guy, but who best fits into the way Gregg sets up? Honestly, it's probably Sargent, to be honest with you.
I agree.
So that's the real.
I think he finds a way on both this Nations League roster and the Copa America roster.
Yeah. Although
as a hybrid.
Yeah, Pepi can bring you what Sargent brings in a way, but nobody really holds up the ball as well as Sargent does. I mean, Sargent's just good at everything. He's not. I mean, he's a pretty good shooter, so I might give him a higher score there. But he's just an all-around solid player. So hard to leave him out. Jose Reyes, my opinion is Pepi, Ballo, and I don't care who makes third between Hadji and Sargent. Both can play wing. Yeah.
Good to see the Puerto Rican flags making an appearance here on the show.
Amen.
He's a resident Puerto Rican.
Yep, he's a regular here. Edgar Moreno says Copa America is going to be a 23-man roster. For what I've heard, only 2 striker spots will be available. It's clear that Pepi and Balogun Should be the two. Sargent and Haji will be there if there's an injury or something. One could try to attend Olympics if released. I'm trying to get people to get on board with this Haji, Wright, and Sargent as the backup wingers.
Wait a minute, but that's being said with a lot of conviction. Only 2 striker spots will be available for the USMNT. Are we sure about that? I mean, I know it's a 23-man roster, but I think in the hybrid sense of it, you could find a way. And I would still classify Sargent as a forward.
And yeah, that's how they list them at US Soccer anyhow, right? Midfield forward. So they just be listed as forwards. That means they can play out wide. They can play in the middle. It doesn't really matter. I know that Gregg will probably sit down and say, okay, here are my 1 and 2 guys that I'm going to play at center forward, depending on who we play. But he's also got to think about backing up Pulisic and Weah. I mean, and Sargent and Haji have proven they can do that. I mean, obviously Sargent plays striker now, but I mean, how long was he forced to play winger at Norwich, and before that, Werder Bremen? A long time. He can do it.
Well, who would be the top winger? So, why am I drawing the blank on the America player? It's
Zendejas.
Zendejas is obviously, but he's not really
know
taking that opportunity. It's Taylor Booth. Someone we could play there. Is that not?
He's finding his feet again. Yeah,
he is. I mean, they had not great competition in these games, but still, you could just score 5 goals in 2 games is a sign that you're healthy at the very least for Taylor Booth. When we talked about injuries earlier, but I mean, he's like the wild card. I think they can make some headway. Other than that, it gets pretty slim pickings, right?
It does, and even I mean, you got to keep in mind Taylor just came back too, so I'm glad he's scoring again and scoring lots, scoring in bunches, 5 goals in 2 games, but. I think we need to give him a little bit more time and see if this just went on a 2-game hot streak or if he's really all the way back. And I hope he is all the way back.
Well, we're looking at about a month from now until Nations League, so it's possible maybe he's just not included in Nations League, but then if he's still on fire, he's available for Copa at that point.
Well, he might benefit for what reason we said, because there may not be another real good option.
Yeah. Well, we do have Kevin Paredes.
Oh, of course, Kevin Paredes.
Yeah.
He didn't really grab that opportunity last time, but he's still young. He's certainly feels Olympic-y, and we'll find out soon enough.
Well, that's assuming he gets released for the Olympics. It's great when you bring that up, because that does take us into another of Edgar's posts about this.
Speaking of the Olympics, Edgar says Leagues Cup is going to be at the same time as Olympics from July to August, which means MLS teams won't be releasing players easily. For the U23 and Euro teams, typically don't release them unless they aren't important. I wonder how our U23 will look. Wow, that's troubling.
I mean, you got to think like players like Diego Luna, Guti, and Brady. Just off the top of my head right now.
Well, certainly everyone that plays on Chicago won't be released, because they, urgently have to hold on to everybody.
We can't release anybody. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I think that might be a bigger phenomenon, I guess, where clubs may not release them. And look, I've been pretty upfront. I'm not a big Olympics guy. I don't watch the Olympic soccer tournament. I'll watch it with the U.S. It's just not registering. You send these guys there so they can have this great experience, but I don't think they get much out of it on the soccer side. A little bit, it's a bit broken up. I'm sure there are positives there, but I'm just like, it's not the Copa, it's not the Gold Cup, it's none of those things. And that said, I would love to see everyone get that opportunity to walk out in the opening ceremonies, to enjoy the Olympic Village.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm so glad you said that, because that's like the longest standing debate Pete and I have. It's like this argument that we have all the time, which is, I'm with you. Like, to me, Olympic soccer has never meant anything to me, except for, it's a sort of side tournament. I'm there to support my country, but I don't expect anybody to, big to be there.
And it's losing its steam, when these clubs not releasing, and it's not these other big soccer tournaments taking a bigger piece of the pie, in my estimation. Copa America is a perfect example. You wonder how it's going to look. I mean, it's going to be there, but it may transform. Obviously, the women's tournament there is still massive. The men's, the next 2 Olympics will be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I want to say Pete and Tack had a great time hanging out with you in Austin. They relayed that to me. And
I would say something about Tack. I mean, he's a pain in the rear. But when we finally landed, I had to go back to Orlando because I was seeing my family there. He was nice enough to wait for me to see if I needed a ride. He was very generous and I appreciate that.
They're
And,
both great guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we were supposed to be there.
What happened?
Derek,
I effed up, man. I thought
What
they
the
were.
hell? It was a good time. You got some Michelob Ultras being poured. You had some barbecue being eaten, and
I'd have to drink at least 58 Michelob Ultras to get a buzz.
what's your go-to?
Right now, all
Right
Belgian beers, right? But right now, vodka and 7-Up is the what I'm imbibing in. Yeah, and it's okay. I usually do Canada Dry and vodka, which is much more potable. I will say this. They had a great time. They said they saw a different side of you and told us some stories.
Wait, what was the normal side?
No,
me on YouTube.
You were
they see you on YouTube. They see you on the Twitters, and it's different when you get to meet
I'm
people.
a bit of a contrarian to, I guess,
You're
the bigger portion of this world.
They said you were kind of more of a jokester than they thought. You were
okay.
funny.
Yeah, I'm a fun-loving guy, but it's I get it.
Yeah,
but I like it. Look, to the point we had. I think this is a very good forum for all of us to have different opinions, because I think we all stay in our lane a bit where we just want to have our opinions kind of confirmed. But this is a good way to flesh it out. And you guys are awesome. I love coming on your show. You're very down the middle.
I was told today that we are the
Thank you.
ringleaders of an echo chamber that just keeps people outside of our treehouse.
Yeah,
there is an echo chamber, but I don't think you're guilty of it. You approach it, but there are these people. I've noticed, it's some of the comments I get, and I'm like, wait, it's so black and white, some of these things. You guys aren't there. I don't like to think I'm there, and sometimes it's like it's this way or that way, and then no, I'm wrong a lot of times. I'm right a lot of times. You guys are wrong and right. Everyone's kind of we just got to pick our battles we got to pick the right battles.
Right. I mean, I'm wrong on occasion, certainly. But Brett's
I'm
never
always,
wrong.
I'm always right.
Brett's never wrong.
Yeah.
That's his saying, at least.
Just accept it, guys.
But no, I do, and I think I agree with you. We're not an echo chamber. If you listen to this show, we've had Jimmy on the show, Jimmy Conrad, but we've disagreed with Jimmy on Twitter, and Jimmy and I have gone at it on Twitter, but we do it. It's not personal. It's not a personal thing. Jimmy knows it's not personal. And Tact and I have disagreed. Pete and I did. And then that one time we disagreed. Big deal.
Hey, have you ever had Alexi on?
Oh, no. He wouldn't come on here. He would not come on here. No.
Wait, could you put a good word in for us, please?
Yeah.
I'd love to get him on the show.
I would love to, but I don't think we.
He would.
Have you seen Derek's epic viral?
That's
why I bring it up. Yes.
You think he would come on after I said all that stuff? Oh my God!
I think there's a shot. Alexi kind of goes in there. I mean, he's not intimidated or anything. He's like, all right, let's go.
He's never once responded to me on Twitter, and I'm still disheartened. I mean, I'm a big supporter of his. I like half of his takes.
Yeah, I will say this about Alexi though: when you see him out and about, he is next level famous. When you see him at places where it's not just the soccer world, when it's just the soccer world, you'll have other people that people know, and there's a line for Alexi. He's like the Pied Piper. And then even in like the entertainment world, everyone kind of knows him. Even in 2024, he's just he's that recognizable, and he's that that representative of our sport.
Right.
So and what was I going to say? He's always involved. Like my son, when he was like 11, played in a soccer game here. We live close in the same area. He was officiating it.
Get out!
No
wow,
shit.
We met him in 2012. Was it, Brett?
Something like that,
yeah.
11,
we did a spot with MLS back when what was his name was there. Matt Doyle was there at the time. So we did a spot because we were, of course, the leadership group that brought in the 11, and so they were interviewing us about that. And we did get to meet Lawless. He wasn't very nice, but he may have been having a bad day. It happens.
And we were a couple Yahoos on MLK. So I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And maybe Derek was a couple of vodka 7-Ups into it. Hey, Lawless.
It's possible. It's possible. Don't delete your post, Lawless says. It ruins the show. Okay.
What was that? Tell me the context. I saw that. I remember.
Yeah, what is he referencing?
He posts this from time to time because there'll be times that he'll be responding to people and then they'll just delete their post, and then it just looks like he's yelling into the wind.
Oh,
and he's like, "Stop doing your post. It's ruining the show."
That happened to me.
Okay, that's right. I saw it when it happened.
That happened to me the other week when I praise that guy for being able to pleasure himself, auto fellatiating himself, and he took offense to that. I said, no, that's an admirable trait. But anyhow, he's back though. I understand.
Me and Inverted had a nice back and forth today. Actually, he thought that I was you.
Oh no, we were very different.
He said we were talking about an article I'm going to bring up later, actually, about Jackson Ewell, and I'm like, hey, the title of the article itself is super freaking clickbaity, and he's like, well, Audi's not, or Volkswagen or whoever was on the side of the article is like, they're not going to sell themselves,
So he thought you were me, but really we're totally different. Like, you are really nice on Twitter, and I'm a total dick. So that's totally the difference. So
and it's like that in real life too.
It's in there. It is now. Like that in real life.
Although Brett's a lot nicer for sure.
Derek and myself we're open books. So what you see here is what you get in real life.
That's true. That is true. All right, what's next topic, Brett?
This is great. You guys are ripping through this.
Yeah.
Well, he's got
glad I brought my reading glasses.
He's
got a lot of stuff to cover. So I got a lot of stuff to cover. So
he's got 1,000 tabs up there, man.
Did you want to cover any of your fluff before, or do you want to hold?
No, I already did the fluff about the dog.
Right. Oh, the dog
licking itself. Yeah,
that's right.
At work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross. All right.
So Dax McCarty posted a nice picture today, asking if a teammate of his should go to jail.
Okay. Oh, the coffee thing.
So he goes, I have a teammate who shall not be named who adds butter to his coffee. He says I can't criticize until I try it, but I don't want to my breakfast end up on the table, etc., etc., etc.
Can I scroll? Oh, you're scrolling. There we go. Oh God,
that's disgusting looking.
It looks like sewage.
So have any of you guys tried bulletproof coffee before?
No. Is that what that means with butter?
Yes. Instead of cream, you use butter. It's good for when you're on the keto diet. It's keep your body in ketosis. So you basically instead of taking creamer, you're introducing yourself with a bunch of fat, and that's basically a lot of what keto is. Keto is protein and fat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And everything. So you take that, and it's but you're supposed to infuse it. You're supposed to have like a blender type thing to mix it all together.
But how much sugar and carbs really? How much sugar is in the cream? It's not that much.
Yeah, I put a very little splash of cream and a little splash of Splenda. It's mostly the coffee I'm drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have 1 cup a day and I enjoy it. I will not do it. And I truly believe the less butter you eat, the better you're going to be health-wise long term.
Well, that isn't what that one cook lady said. What's her name? She used to talk like this. No, not with an English accent, though. She used to bake cakes and
Julia Child?
Julia Child.
Okay.
She went on her shit. I've been eating butter for 55 years. And look at me.
I can't have some butter.
I'm fit as a fiddle, she would say. So anyhow.
I mean, butter's just another fat. There's nothing else wrong with that.
Sure.
I mean, it just depends. It all depends on portion when you consume stuff. So
yes,
it is.
I'll get my fat in pork belly and bacon. Thank you.
Fuck yeah!
I love bacon. Well, butter is in the cream family, so let's give this a gentle hand. Maybe it's all right.
Well,
you know, I'm fully
good
aware.
Tweet. Good tweet from Dax.
It blew up on Twitter, man. It was all over the place.
That is so weird. What goes?
What got a lot of traction?
What goes viral on Twitter to me is completely. I don't get it. I really don't.
I mean, I have lost the touch to put quality tweets apparently. So,
Jack, you are getting a 3-minute timeout for that one.
Yeah,
bacon is nasty.
Bacon is so nasty.
You can't eat a lot of it, Jack. I'll be honest, but you have those 3 strips, maybe 2 strips. That's perfect.
It's awesome.
I could live on bacon if I wanted to.
Yeah, part of my LAFC deal is I have a relationship with Farmer John, and they give me. I'll tell you the story about bacon. So I do a few spots with them, and we do things with the team. It's nice, little stipend there as well with that. But they would also at the Christmas time give me a book of Farmer John, a pack of bacon. So it was like a book of 20. So I kept some, and then I would give them for Christmas gifts. You would not believe how people light up. It was like I gave them a Ferrari.
I bet.
I go, hey, here's a coupon for a book. Oh, a box of bacon or a pack of bacon.
Hell yeah.
Oh, so and then I'd get a card. It was sanction that coupon, and I used it. Was delicious. I'm like. Maybe a Ferrari is a bit heavy-handed, but it was like I got them something very nice.
No, I think the metaphor is apropos. Like it really is the Ferrari of pork. If you think about it,
it's not like you're getting in the Jam of the Month Club or something like that.
Yeah, and you go to the Farmer John plant, which is not there in LA anymore, and then you go to where they keep the top shelf stuff, It's like they're taking you inside the vault of the jewelry store. You're like, this is the double smoked. It needs to be hung here in a dry room for 45 minutes. You're like, and then I go, wow, this is amazing. Can I touch one? No.
That's like going on the bourbon trails, and you start seeing all the bourbon stacked up on top of each other and the different elevations for different qualities of bourbon. You're just going like, I can live here. I can do it.
By the way, Max, did Brett tell you, speaking of uncured meats, that this show is 2 hours long? I'm sure he didn't tell you that long.
No. Do I have to stay on the whole time?
You don't.
No.
Okay, this is why I would stay on the whole time, but I probably have to duck around 6:20, 6:15, 6:20 because I have to take a flight.
So that gets
a red-eye flight.
That gives you some time to start making some planning, Brett. Because you got like 80. He's got like 80 tabs up there.
Was Brett under that I would be here 2 hours?
No, that's just generally what we do. But I assumed.
But wait, was tack on for 2 hours?
2 hours and 20 minutes, along with Brett
on air.
If I didn't have this flight, then I would definitely stay the whole time.
Okay,
How's that sound?
No, that's perfect.
Or I can give you another hour, another time if you'd have me, but you don't want me back on this.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna lose your audience.
We're gonna have you back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
All right, Brett. What is the next topic? By the way,
it's called weeding out the fat. It was just trimming it off. It's just
all right.
That's what it is.
It is.
Get me back. We trim off the fat. Get out of here, guys.
All right. Speaking of trimming off the fat,
I'm gonna go ahead. Let's go ahead and hit up the main topic here because I don't want to run out of time. So
yes,
I want to bring up the article, the MLS article, because that leads us right into the MLS topic as a whole, and I thought this was just a fun way of doing so.
Okay.
So this is an article back from January of 2020.
The American Pirlo. Oh,
wow, I did not expect that to pop up.
Hey, that's not fair to Jackson.
I called. Listen, to be fair, I used to call him the NorCal Pirlo. I thought American may have been a little too sweeping, but he definitely is the NorCal Pirlo. At least he was for a time.
Yeah, I mean, it looked somewhat promising, but not Pirlo promising, for crying out loud.
No.
Who? Oh, this is MLS article.
Yeah, it's an MLS article.
Okay, who wrote it? Somebody we know?
Scott French.
Yeah. Okay, Scott.
I know Scott. He's down in Orange County.
We
know a lot of the same people actually.
In Yule's defense, he goes, "Might he be the Americans Pirlo?" The thought even made him laugh.
Yeah.
So Yule had a sense of humor, but I was like, "Yeah, I don't know about that," but I tried my best. You know?
I don't think there's going to be many more Pirlos. Because the game's changed.
Well, we have an American Pirlo pretty
Weston,
close with Weston. I mean, he's looking. I mean, there was a couple moments I'm like, woof, he can hit every ball. Short, long, straight, wide.
It's true.
So, Max,
I know. I don't want to label him with that, but it's If there was an American Pirlo.
When you coined him that, it was funny because we in our chat that was on a Monday or Thursday because we had a show and people were posting that in our chat. I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I'm looking through Twitter and I realized that you posted like 3 hours before our show. I'm like, oh my God, we just stole that from him.
I think when those things happen, that is people are head are in the same place. I think there's a lot of that. I don't think there's people jacking ideas. It's just kind of like we all are in the same wavelength.
I could tell you
what is the question here? Is it just about the headline?
Well, this was just an intro into MLS topic because we're going to get into the MLS topic here in a second. But what are your thoughts about doing headlines like this?
I'm not. I understand why they do them, and the headline, as we've learned here, whether it's creating a thumbnail or whatever, really important. And I've put some up there, which you figure, okay, let's get people to read. And that's what he's trying to do. And that headline will certainly get people to read. Is it accurate? But is it accurate? No, but I think that's the responsibility of whoever's writing it's to get you to read, even though there's just so much exaggeration. I mean, how many people have been compared to Messi? I mean, we have the Jersey Messi, we have the Alpine Messi, we have the Rock City Messi. So, sometimes it's thrown out there. That's a little more specific because not many people compared to Pirlo. So I understand it. And I can see why some would roll their eyes, but it doesn't bother me too much.
It passes the test because it says the American Pirlo ? If that were a colon, then we'd have a problem.
Right.
Okay. So
I don't like these absolutes in anything. So you've got to. Some people editorialize a little too much. At least they fleshed it out here, phrasing it as a question.
Now, one thing that did upset me before we move on, except and it wasn't Jeff Carlisle's headline necessarily when he broke the Reyna Berhalter story.
Yeah.
It was the blackmail implications in the article that were passed on to him through U.S. Soccer contacts that he ran with and then he deleted later, but didn't explain it and didn't put any explanation at the end of the article, no clarifying thing. He just edited the article like 25 times.
It was redacted. It was edited.
And he never, ever made an official comment as to why all those changes were made, why he removed the word blackmail. But then the damage had been done. Then 38,000 articles were written with the blackmail headline.
And we still hear it today, though. That's the
we
thing.
do.
No problem.
Never going to go away. And I got a problem with it. And listen, I don't know Jeff. I know others. We've had a long relationship with Stephen Goff. He's been on the show, blah, blah, blah. We know, Brian Schroeder. We know a lot of those people in that community. But that one really peeved me. And I don't know how you felt about it or if you saw that. But, I don't even know if you know Jeff Carlisle. But that one.
I know Jeff. And I've had him on the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast.
Yeah, you should.
Make sure you guys
on YouTube. Yeah, thanks, guys. But I know Jeff pretty well, and I guess when I saw that, and I didn't go in too deep, but I kind of missed how it extrapolated. But I felt a little bad because that's very delicate information, and it's I think we've all. Well, no, I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but I've even been there. Where you put something out there, like I don't know if that's that is accurate, and you want things to be accurate, and you want things not to lead you down a rabbit hole by any means. But Derek, I can understand it. Your unhappiness with that, but I guess my first thing I felt bad because I don't think he would have put that intentionally. I'm sure probably feels pretty bad as a journalist to have done that.
But I think then when you come on Herc and Seb's show, then you come out and you say, when they're talking to you about it and you've already edited the article, you say, listen, I got that part wrong. Maybe I stepped too far. And that's what I was expecting from Jeff, knowing people who know him and have known him for a long time and reading his articles for years. And being a former journalist myself, that's what I would have expected. Of course, journalism's changed in the last.
Yeah, well, and I think also he probably, many times you confer with people and they say, don't bring it up because you want it to kind of maybe go away, or maybe that was in play. But I knowing Jeff, I think that'd be something he'd fess up. It makes it easier for you too, but yeah, maybe a missed opportunity.
Well, and it's also possible that it's contact or a source with U.S. Soccer who may have shed the information upon him use the term blackmail at the time.
That's true. That's what we thought.
Maybe you have to reject it. You remove it at that point. Personally, though, again, the problem is that when that article first hit, everybody reads the title, reads a little sub paragraph underneath it, and that's legitimately it. And they don't go back 3 months later. Just take a look. Is it still blackmail? Oh no, it's not blackmail anymore. Okay, so that's I guess that's our beef with that whole thing.
Yeah. It was weird when the one thing I registered, because I think I said blackmail once, and I go, the semantics of it all, where you're like, okay, what do we use here? Because it's kind of in that area, but to call it that would to really, stamp it something that I don't think anyone wanted to stamp it.
Right.
I didn't want to. I wanted to find the right phrase that we could use to explain what has been happening here, and a lot of people just immediately went to that word, and it's unfortunate. But it was such a unique circumstance; it was really hard to classify.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, it's a sensitive issue. So I think you err on the side of being sensitive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Well,
I'm glad.
Even here, though, one of the Nottingham Forest guys watches Forest TV. Forest.
Oh yeah, they're still saying
something TV.
I think other people, and I think they would have come up with that on their own without sort of connecting it to Jeff's article. I think that is how some people would have viewed it when they see they look at it all and go, I'm going to call this blackmail. So,
yeah. Well, no, I mean, after Jeff's article, there were literally thousands of articles written, hundreds written using the same terminology. And so now if you do research and you look up that incident, all you find are articles that say blackmail in it. So
I always felt that with blackmail, you're always getting something in return. In this situation, she wasn't. I say she. I guess the Reynas weren't necessarily trying to get anything from Berhalter at that point, except for to get him fired or not rehired, I guess. And then that doesn't. That usually it's like if you're blackmailing somebody, you're getting something in return, like payment, or you're getting some benefit or whatever.
It's the legal term, the legal definition. Yeah. All right, sorry, we got off.
What is the right legal term for that? Was it? What is it? Wasn't it a Sean Connery movie? Was it? What you call? No, never mind.
Okay, I can't.
It might come
Brett,
to me.
If Brett doesn't know, and
Entrapment.
Entrapment. Yes. Thank you. I can even think of Catherine Zeta-Jones too. I'm like,
Catherine, you know what they call this? This is entrapment. You're not going to get away with it.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Brett does a pretty good one too.
in my day, all we had was a jetpack.
Yeah. We only have about 5 more years of Sean Connery impressions before people won't remember who he is, which is very unfortunate.
They've already tried to cancel him after he died, though. That was the problem.
Yeah, well, that's because he said he needed to slap a bitch sometimes.
Sometimes you need to slap it.
When I was younger, I'd watch older movies, but I don't think younger people watch older movies now. Or listen to older music. And I'm not saying it's an issue, but that's just the way the world has been. So they're not pulling up The Untouchables or some of the old James Bond movies. It's kind of
probably not. Yeah, you're right.
It's in the past.
The people who are young, who do listen to old music are like, holy crap, music used to be awesome.
They're missing out. I go, why don't you listen to my B-sides on Marshall Tucker Band? I'm going to blow your top off. Some great music back then. Classic rock, heavy metal.
I wouldn't have gone to Marshall.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. Okay.
Look at all that traffic on that, too.
Yes, I know. That's actually not bad. But let me see here. So you say what you say, and then I say, Max, your focus is on MLS motives, not the players' motives, ambitions, or character. Those players don't care about coming back to MLS for a payday early. Just ask them. And then we had this back and forth. You're like, well, only Pulisic said something. And I said, you're right. Pulisic is the only one that said he's not coming back early. He's going to wait till he's old. And I quote, but McKennie, I couldn't find anything. He's never even talked about MLS except for his days at FC Dallas. So
I do want to preface this by saying that this is in response to an even older conversation. And I'm going to paraphrase this, Max, but I believe your original tweet was basically saying, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a major American star that in MLS by 2026.
Yeah. And I think that's probably chronologically probably not going to happen. So I think it would be safe to say that's not going to happen prior to the World Cup. But maybe 2026 after. Long shot, but after. And I think it kind of began after the Colorado Rapids made all these signings of Americans that are not in their level. Georgi Mihailovic, Zach Steffen,
all of which were struggling at the club.
Sam Vines. Yeah, they're all struggling, but they had a chance. They came back, and obviously they have a lot more clout because of that time in Europe. You know, they're all
money for it too.
Yeah, so they're going to get paid more. And Miles Robinson could have gone, and he made more money here. So, I mean, that's where we kind of started it with, and it is, you know, from the MLS perspective, whether it would happen or not. I guess I also wanted to just point out that, you know, the league is looking for these players that will connect and get eyeballs. And they did that with Lionel Messi, which would tell you that there is ambition if there's an owner there that can get in the ear of one of these players and make an offer they can't refuse. I think they would all listen at the very least. And there's no one out there. I mean, I guess Kylian Mbappe for MLS specifically, outside of Messi, who could you get that could have a bigger impact? And I think getting the biggest name American star everyone knows would be at the top of my list. Then maybe Mbappe, Neymar, maybe some really good young player from the exterior. But Pulisic and McKennie, I mean, those would be two incredible foundation stones that you could promote and have a credible PR push with. So from that perspective, it makes sense for MLSs to do that. And if you have some owners behind it, I think they certainly could provide a package the way they did it with Messi. Now, on the other side, these guys want to stay there as long, and Pulisic said it, but, you know, based on what's happening in Europe, and it's going great for Christian and Weston today. What I love about what they're doing is they're everyday players. We don't have to look at the lineup and say, okay, he's not going to be in there. They're always going to be in there. Sometimes they'll be the star. Sometimes they'll be the support. And I think with Pulisic this weekend, you know, that was Rafael Leao's game, and he was great, but Pulisic did his part, and sometimes he'll be the man. But so it's going well, and it might still be going really well by 2026 for both of them, or maybe one of them. I put Gio Reyna in that conversation too, and things aren't really going well for him. I think we're all optimistic they'll turn for the better, but not playing at Dortmund and now Nottingham Forest, which is going to be a grind. I would put him there. Although I don't think I'd put him in the same level as Pulisic or McKennie, as somebody that you would could really. He would be great for MLS without question. But those two guys, I think, bring a lot more because they're a little further advanced and could probably deliver a little bit more on the PR side. Not to mention the whole entrapment that we were discussing earlier.
Real quick, Derek, before you go off, because I know you wanted to say something there. You address three players there, three major.
That's the top. That's the top tier right now for us.
And I'm just saying, instead of doing this overarching cover all of them at the same time, let's address each player individually, because I feel like there's different motives. Because I think once I agree with your statement as far as I don't believe it's going to happen before 2026.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening after 2026. Weston and Pulisic are going to be anywhere between like the ages of like 27 and 28, which means that they, in theory, still have another option for another World Cup while playing in Europe and at a high level. Yeah. Gio obviously going to be like 22,
right?
Or whatever, 23 or something like that.
Yeah.
But let's address it one at a time. Let's start with Pulisic because he's the oldest of the three. And
well, we don't have to address him that much because he's already said he's not going to come back.
Wait, he's older. Derek, let me touch on this because even there's little hints there that maybe the other day he talked about it, how he loves Italy, the food, but their candy's terrible. These things that connect him to the United. Look, so there's always going to be a connection. To come home. Christian Pulisic spent his whole time there. Remember, he had his state in Pennsylvania, which I don't think he has anymore. Now he's bought somewhere in this. They want to remain in the United States. You see him on these fishing trips. They miss the United States. That's without question. Now, that doesn't have to be, that is something that they will probably brush aside in order to maintain the very high standard that they want to keep to be professional footballers. With Christian Pulisic, he's doing really well. He's made a great career with him, but he can always make more money. Look, they could imagine there's something in the $10 to $15 million range, which I think a club would do, and that would double, if not triple, but maybe what Pulisic makes. So I think money is a big hook there, certainly after 2026, and maybe offering him kind of what they did with Lionel Messi in many ways, where he has a stake in the league and stuff. And I know he said that, but in 2 years after a World Cup, where MLS is going to be really sensitive to maintain that excitement post-World Cup in the United States to do something big, I'm sure the conversations will happen. I'm sure they can make an offer that at least would get him to consider it. And we look, if the Serie A, it's a tumultuous league. Getting tenure there can be tricky there. So it didn't work out in the Premier League. I'm sure it could in a different situation. It's working out here, but the Serie A, I think, the history will tell you that things can go sideways or what have you, or maybe something with the club. Milan's been good for the last few years, but prior to that, it was not great. So maybe there's a promise of something big for him where he feels like, hey, the league's getting better. Messi's here, so and so's here. Maybe Weston's here. I'm interested. Maybe I'd kick the tires on that.
So I would probably just say this: if 2026 is over, and big part of Christian Pulisic's game is his speed, and he turns 30 2 years before 2030 World Cup, and he's lost a burst of speed, and maybe he's not as competitive. Maybe he would think about it, but I don't know.
Wait, so if he wants to stay in Europe to maintain that level for the World Cup, he would be 2030 World Cup? He would be 32, 31?
30, how old would he be? So he'd be 28, 32.
Yeah, he's 25 right now.
Yeah,
so he'd be 31.
32. There might be another big American player that MLS might look into to bring in that window to be that guy. I'm sure they would have him, but it may close a little bit or a lot. So, that's getting up there. I mean, he's been at it a long time. It's amazing.
32 for a guy who's one of his best attributes is his burst of speed. And that goes away in your 30s sometimes. Yes. So it's possible, but
maybe 2026 ago, I'll be coming to MLS in a year.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
He could convert positions at that point. I mean, instead of having to be out on the wing where he does utilize his speed, maybe he is going to push more centrally. We've seen it at Milan a couple times, or more than a couple times, but a handful of times where he does end up pinching in certain games where he's more of a central player playing as that 10 role, if they don't necessarily play that 10 role, but in that sense with him. But he does pinch in from time to time there. Maybe he's going to end up converting roles, I guess, in the end.
I would just generally say for Pulisic, it's early 30s, probably, maybe middle 30s at best.
So BMR does bring up the point that that Bradley did come back from Roma or come to MLS at Roma at 26.
He should have.
Yeah, but that was, I know, and then Clint Dempsey, who's a little bit older, but that little push kind of, we've never seen that before. And now you say, okay, and that also told you that, the American player who has some fame and is known and can be the American public can associate with, that's very valuable. And I don't think that's changed whatsoever for this next group, who, by the way, they become so much more appealing in that light. And I guess why I posted that is because of what they have done in the short time in Italy.
So with Pulisic, I guess the big thing there is going to be if he comes back. I mean, if he's looking at the tail end of his career, does he continue to fight it out in Europe against up and coming ankle biters and making less and less money as he gets older and older and older, or does he take the massive paycheck from like the 29, 30, 31 range going into 2030 and hoping that he makes the World Cup at that point? Because I know that I know MLS as a whole is a bit different than when it was when Bradley and Josie and Dempsey all came back. But I will say not having any competition on a week-to-week basis as far as taking your role played a role in their skills becoming a little bit duller than when they were in Europe.
Certainly Bradley declined quickly after he came back. His overall skills declined.
He was okay. No, he was okay, maybe, but I mean, he had a good run there with Toronto FC where there was a good standard, and then it kind of collapsed a bit. But I
give him 2 good seasons, maybe.
Yeah,
and then it kind of went.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
He was on its way down. I mean, in my opinion, he just started at a higher level, and he just started it drifted. Because I always say, my opinion is when you go to Europe, the choice of going to Europe and staying in MLS for players. Obviously, you can make more money. We saw with Miles Robinson, getting that 1-year contract with Cincy or whatever, making the 1 point some odd mil, more money than you'd get in Europe. But when you're in Europe, you're going to be having 3, 4, 5 players behind you, whether you're talking about just behind you or younger, that are going to be biting at your heels. You make one mistake, so you got to always remain sharp. So
yeah. And then Dempsey had already started a slight decline at Tottenham already physically. And so by the time he got here, he was still amazing. But I mean, and then he had the heart condition. So I don't know if he's a fair, but then Josie had a couple good seasons when Gio Vinco was there. And after Gio Vinco left, he fell apart. So
that was the 2014 World Cup. When you look at that roster, you see all these players that were MLS based that had a run in Europe, and certainly it helped equip them for that a successful World Cup run. But it was Josie, it was Michael Bradley, it was Clint Dempsey, and they're all MLS based, I believe, at that point. But a lot also depends on where it goes, and is he going to be this legacy player at Milan or maybe somewhere in the city? Yeah, I would tend to think so. And look, if all these rumors are true that Rafael Leao is going to be somewhere else soon, then their eyes are going to turn to Christian Pulisic to be the guy there. So I mean, it could get a lot better. It might not.
Right.
And knock on wood, any injury concerns, not that would accelerate it, but it's something to keep into consideration. But and that might deter MLS because you may not want someone who's coming off an injury. But it's I'm sure conversations, and they'll be encouraging. It has to be the right ownership and the same group that are like, hey, what about here? What maybe it's Philadelphia Union, or maybe you want to live in Orlando. I don't know, but if those videos of him fishing and stuff, I get the feeling that might be
it's Florida,
a desired location. Yeah, he is in Florida, right? He has a property now in Florida, so
right.
But so I guess jumping back to the previous guard who came from Europe back to MLS in some of their instances. They all came back after the 2014 World Cup. They're Jermaine Jones, Bradley, Josie, and Dempsey all came back at 2014-2015 range.
Well, there you go. End of a World Cup. Turn the page.
But fingers crossed we don't see the same response that we saw in 2018, though.
And I want to preface this. I would love for them to stay there. I'm just saying, look, if an MLS business plan, that would make sense to pursue these guys at a high level.
Sure.
Because, I mean, look, they're better players playing in Europe. That's no question that they are better as professionals. And this time in Italy, I think we're going to see that in the summer. And it's going to be exciting to see how far they've come along. But, there is, money is something, MLS needs to make an impact. Money talks. There's an opportunity for MLS to be a big, big league. Who knows what would have happened if the Saudis didn't come in and sign all these guys, if some of those players would have ended up in MLS, like a Karim Benzema or what have you. But that we have seen that too, that money can certainly make people reconsider their time in a European club.
And on Reyna, if we can move to Reyna real quick.
Sure, let's do it.
I will say this, maybe the move to Nottingham Forest wasn't the perfect move, but we already talked about this earlier with Breto and Tack, which is yes, it's not the greatest move, but you can't poop on it because at least it's a better situation than Dortmund, I think personally. So in that sense, it's better. And you what's the worst what is the saying about perfect? Like if you the antagonist of perfect is like, okay, you're not going to find perfect. So he found Nottingham Forest, but I can tell you this in just the 2 games I've watched and the whole 50, 60 minutes is that the guy eyeball test has class. And even the Nottingham Forest fans are on, their particular shows over in England are saying why this guy needs to start now.
He's getting more playing time
because he's
class. Even more playing time at the very minimum.
Because they're saying eye test already proves it. This guy is a class player.
There's not enough of an eye test. I mean, that's nice they did it. And I agree with you. I think he's looked good and he hit the ground running nicely. I mean, it wasn't this kind of looking around like what's going on. It's a good start. I mean, there's some things I could see just being asked to do a little bit more in that position that maybe got caught a little bit behind the play. But when he's facing goal, and I thought he was great connecting the wingers as well.
His first match, he had a couple of 50-50 headers in his defensive third. He came back, he pressured. Then they went up a man, of course. The next match, he had that one sliding tackle on the recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, he has defensive aspects of his game. I think it's kind of overlooked because you see the offensive aspects and you don't want him playing back.
No.
And I don't think
but I think that Nottingham Forest is a little demanding with regards to doing that, and that's what they require from some of these guys, and they're able to do it. But that's
good though, because it's gonna
make him better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Nottingham Forest could be a good move after all is said and done.
Right, because it's going to force him to do what he hasn't had to do.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable for him.
Yes, and this is good. Being uncomfortable is what makes you better. Playing against better opponents is what makes you better. Being forced to do things you haven't done before makes you a better player. So I think he'll become a better defensive player. I think he'll get used to understanding what a player needs to do when you don't have possession. What is your role when you don't have possession? Dortmund always had possession, it seemed like 70%, 65% of the game. So, this is a test for him, and I think it's a net positive, unless he gets, hurt or something. But there's a player I do not see, based on my eyeball test over the many years I've been watching this kid. I think he's going to be the best American player ever. I know that's saying big stuff that's going to get me in trouble if it doesn't happen, but I got to say it. He's just the best player I've ever seen America develop. And so
you got time for him. And I think we got to be patient with Gio Reyna because a lot of people with the Nottingham Forest move were going, oh, this has got to work out. It doesn't really have to work out. It doesn't. I mean, he has time to do it. Look, it took a while for a eureka moment for Pulisic. So if Gio Reyna goes back to Dortmund and kind of rides the bench for a bit and maybe loses 6 months, it's not ideal, but it's still a long way to go.
He's sold this summer. Whether he's going to re-sign for Dortmund or he's sold this summer, that's basically what Dortmund has said from the get-go.
Yeah,
they're not going to go into the final year of his contract without an option done. Whether it's re-signing him or selling him, they're going to do it this summer. I guarantee it.
Hey, Filippo joined the show here. Says MLS has a plan to bring them. I think Max also heard it as an insider. They will overpay to bring them. Of course, yeah, I agree. They will. They will overpay. Yeah,
they have to overpay, but that's something that like for instance, I was thinking about this. If Argentina wanted to bring back its star players, or Brazil, I mean, they do it later in their career in Brazil in many cases. And Brazilian league is in much better financial state, but they can't really do it because they may not have this big owner. I shouldn't say that about Brazil, but they possibly could. But some of these countries to bring back their star players, MLS is a unique circumstance because they have that infrastructure. They have the billionaire owners, and they have a need. They're invested so much. They have a need to bring in some high profile guys, and they could do it in some collective fashion. I think, even though he may end up with the club, the rest of the league will know Christian Pulisic in the league is a positive. How can they help out? So this is a unique circumstance because it's MLS, and that's what makes it, to me, a little more possibility where it might have some legs. And I saw it with Texas. I don't have any inside information. I'm kind of just thinking about where the MLS is. Yeah. Weston McKennie was at an LAFC game when he was recuperating from an injury. He did have a chance to talk to him. And I kind of say, hey, what do you think about this? He goes, this is pretty cool. This is, he was like a little starry-eyed saying, wow, this league's come a long way. So I don't think that's going to lure him over, but it wasn't, it was a very positive reaction to that. And I think they noticed as well. And the possibility of coming back home, making good money. Those are two good parts of all of this, depending on where they are professionally in 2026.
McKennie loves Florida too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He loves partying.
McKennie would be
Florida,
a rock star here because he's so funny and relatable and clever. And Christian's a little more, he's a little bit more guarded,
more reserved.
Weston could take over this place. He knows that too. I mean, he's just a delightful guy, and everything everything he says, and he has fun with his teammates is, I think, something that will make him more attractive to some ownership group in Major League Soccer.
As long as he doesn't let it all go when he gets here, because
what do you mean?
We've heard some inside stories.
I've heard it too. Well, look, there's a lot of players that have fallen that suit. They go, I don't want to maintain this high level, and so maybe
he loves to party at Pogba's place. By the way, when he's in Miami, so
yeah. When he was up in England, he had too much fish and chips and spotted dick.
No, that is a dish, by the way, Max.
I know. Right? That was a very good little play on words too. I might use that one.
All right. Yeah.
And I have the spotted dick, of course. Don't click that off. Click that off.
It's gonna happen. I'm sorry. Keyboard Warriors already watching. It's gonna happen.
That is also, by the way, what they call Dalmatians in England too, and they call boots wellies. Just so you know. You got to go in 2 minutes, right, Max?
Yeah. No, I just saw a text. Yeah, in a little bit. I had to run in a bit, but I have a few more minutes.
Okay.
You just butt in at any point and say, guys, I got to leave. And
all right.
We'll do it. So I think we're all in agreement that it's obviously not going to happen before 2026. Right. It could happen just after, like we talked about. Money does talk, and you're getting towards the tail end of your career, especially if you're a guy who relies on speed. You could get. I wouldn't be shocked if MLS offered, or if a team offered Pulisic 10 to 15. I said 10,
or more.
I said 10 in a tweet earlier today. That's just me going for an undershot there because of how much we've been offering other players. But
I think you go for more and a piece of the pie, MLS pie. I wouldn't be surprised. They weren't going to offer him a team like they offered Beckham a team. They're not going to do that. I don't even know I don't even know what they've offered Messi outside of the money deal yet. We don't even know. But there's got to be something else we're not seeing. And how, by the way, Max, is Miami getting away with? They got
Redondo's kid.
They just signed up somebody else in there recently. Yeah.
Well, there's a rumor about that, and that'd be a huge prospect if he was to come. But I think, look, I think they're getting away with it. I think they're pushing the limits of what you're capable of doing. I mean, I think that's all within it. There's no bucking the system. And I think a lot of times there's clubs that people feel are close to the salary cap that are really savvy with how they spend it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's these DP guys that are doing
Chicago.
It. Yeah. So, but I mean,
not savvy at all.
I've seen some that are just like, man, I go, how do they get this? Or these guys to sign? I mean, it's part of playing in the United States, where you get a little bit of a break, certainly with American players and foreign players, because they come here and they will enjoy the quality of life, or however you want to call it.
This is a memory moment, Max, but what was the very first broadcast you were on? Wasn't it like the soccer channel or something like
Fox Sports World? Probably. I think an Argentine game was probably the first thing I did. And then there was also the There was like a Premier League recap show I did on Sunday with Lionel Bienvenu.
Were you ever on the show with Keith Costigan?
Like it was a talk show with Steve Cohen and Stephen Gieber. Nick Gieber and Stephen Cohen.
Nick, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We've had both of them on our show back in like 2011. We've had them all on back in 2011. We were on Big Soccer because I had this flash memory of seeing you with them at some point. And then we've had all those old guys on, but so we had connections for a while. So I'm glad.
By the way, someone emailed me out of the blue and said Fox Football Phone, and there you go.
There it is.
He goes, you should do some sort of pod about all the people at Fox. And I go, I've been thinking about that, and I'm curious if enough people would be wanted to see that. But maybe you bring in the Canadian folks who did the daily news show, and then you bring in Fox Football Phone and myself and a couple of. Maybe be a good content play, That
was such a fun show too.
It was a great place to work and do it. I watched, just inundated with just tons of soccer, and that's enough to turn you off, and it didn't for me. So it was it showed me it was in the right place.
Who was the older gentleman? Bobby
McMahon.
Man, talk about a great guy. And I can't even remember his last name, which is sick on me, but
you're close.
When I was still writing, I would send him my articles, and he'd read them on a plane and send back with edits and everything. That guy was so nice to me, and he didn't know me from Adam. And then we had him on the show. He was such a gentleman. I hope that guy's all right. Is he? If he's still around?
I got to check. No, but I thought about it when we were pitching this idea, and I go, I think he's back in. He still lives probably in Winnipeg in a different profession. But I got to check in with him. I'll find him. We exchanged some tweets about many years ago. So
what a great guy,
Derek. One of the good things that maybe come out of this is I'll drop a note and maybe be able to get him on the phone and talk to him again.
I hope so, because we brought back some of the old school guys. Like we had Archer on our show. I don't know if you remember him. He was a Crabby Apple guy. Wrote for Big Soccer, and Bill Archer. But man, he still has things to say, and I'm sure Bobby McMahon does too.
Yeah. And we work on shows. We did the Euros, and we did a studio show, and then we had the Champions League for a bit, and he was on it. It was him and Warren Barton, a couple other people, and he would just have these great little nuggets on analysis.
Yeah,
I remember once he had this great. It was the Netherlands and Portugal were in this Euros. I want to say 2004, maybe 2008. Is that right? Yeah, 2008. I'll have to check. But it was a disaster of a game. Red card, nothing. And then we went to him, and I said, Bobby, how do you describe this? He goes, it was an absolute train wreck. I couldn't. No. It was awful. This is some of the worst things. So much indiscipline. And he goes. Then he paused. He goes, but I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how to describe this. So
yeah, a lot of those older guys, I don't know where they've all gone. Bill Archer's retired. I remember he was the one who connected us with Grant Wall when we had Grant on here back in 2012. And of course, back then
it's funny that he connected us with him.
Wall came on to respond to Bill Archer's article, which was great. May he rest in peace, Grant Wall. Yeah. And people, there were people out there who are like, oh, you guys criticize Grant Wall on your show. You don't even pretend that you care about him. We're like, dude, we had him on our show. We kept in contact with him. We didn't hate the dude. We just, when we disagreed with him, we said we disagree with him. So people have this thing nowadays that if you disagree with somebody, you must hate them. I don't understand that, Max. I don't.
I disagree with Grant a lot too, and but I consider Grant a friend, and just thinking about it's very sad when I think about it. But
out of nowhere,
But we were at loggerheads a lot of times, but
yeah,
it's okay. It's disagreement. The idea that we have to run away from disagreement and is a problem. We shouldn't,
right.
And we should face that off. And if someone says bad stuff about you, can confront them somewhere.
Well, that was my point earlier today, is that even Derek and I disagree with each other.
Yeah,
there'll be times that we get into a heated debate and we call each other names, all sorts of things. But it's like 2 seconds later, we're going on the next topic. And it's over with at that point, because that's how we roll.
Brett tells me to shut the fuck up all the time, so it happens.
That should be a segment. You could get sponsored.
Yeah, sorry to go down memory lane with you there, but I had a flashback, and I just remembered you on those old shows, and that was back, early 2010s. So
Yeah. Well,
you've been around. You
I was
are
there.
the OG.
I started calling games there in 1997, 98. So it was, I mean, there was a long time, but very fortunate. That was like my first TV gig. And it was, what a place. I learned about everything doing these games, the rivalries, the personalities, all of that. And it gave me a head start. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was a gift. And I've maybe fallen in love with this. And, the sport's been so great for me. Here I am. Well, longer than I've care to mention how old I am, but it's
don't worry,
it's
I'm
been
older.
great. Soccer has been great for me.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at me, you'd say soccer hasn't been great for me, but that's all right.
Derek, you look so handsome and cute. I want to give you a hug. Look at that. You look so cuddly. I'm like, come on, get in here.
I look like that guy. Oh man. All right. So Brett, you had more. I mean, I don't know how much time you have, but
how about one more topic and then
one more topic. Let's do it.
Real quickly, Fumar does say that everything's so polarizing and binary these days. That's a problem.
That's what I said there. It is a problem. And it's like I was kind of binary in many ways with my takes. And I go, okay, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and lecture you. And sometimes I get a little angry on Twitter and I'm like, because I see enough people say something and it's repetitive. But and also just everyone to you don't have to be one school of thought. Come up with, just look at these topics. You don't have to agree to all these or all to these. You can crisscross and you can agree with this and maybe not agree with that. You can agree that Gio Reyna is the best player. You could also disagree that there's an MLS quota and that. So I mean, it's everyone. I think sometimes we get in those categories too much. It's okay to crisscross. If we start doing that, we'll gain some ground. But that's part of it is also the World Cup. Missing the World Cup obviously was, I think, the starting point for all of this.
And that's kind of why we're having you on. And then we had Brett and Tact on last week because people will say, oh, and you talk shit about them. We didn't talk shit. We just said we disagreed on this particular point. But then they'll put it on Twitter and make us feel like we're bad people. But like you're having them on a show and you just talk shit about him last show. No, he saw the clip. We're having him on the show.
Well, the minute you invite him on the show, that should be celebrated because that means, like, hey, we're going to face this head on.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how I looked at it. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping people realize that this isn't personal. Like we even said it. We're like, hey, Max, we love Max, but we just disagree with him on this particular issue. And then we disagreed on Twitter, and now you're on the show, and we have the discussion. We came to some agreement, actually, on...
Yeah, this has been such a conversation. I hope I'm wrong about those guys coming back to MLS. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they go, and they're playing for Real Madrid, and...
I hope you're right, yeah.
Well, listen, that trumps everything. Like, if Weston McKennie and Christian... I think more Weston, maybe he's such a specialist of a player, then maybe he goes to... Listen, look at Barcelona. They're screaming for a guy like this. I mean, he makes sense, and he could go in there, and then you stay there. You stay there, and you get yourself a nice property and live the good life.
The funny thing about the former Juve players that were playing while Weston has been there, they always talk about. They reach out to them and it's like, hey, is there anybody at Juve you still keep in contact with? And Wes is always top 3, guaranteed. Wow. It always comes up. They always mention Wes. Well, and we covered a month ago or so. There was a guy that, and I remember this because I was scrolling through your history, Derek. But there was a guy that was complaining about how Weston is a clown and that Juve can't be a Champions League team if you have a player like that in the squad. I don't care how good of a locker room guy he is and stuff like that. I'm like, well. Because they're talking about all the different the social media promos that they do, and Weston's always there acting to the camera and stuff like that, and that's his personality. But he also talks about he did an interview with Tim Ream where he's like, I feel like everybody just thinks that what they see when they see me on the camera, that's who they think I am. But when I'm on the pitch, it's all business.
Yep.
Puro negocio.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, surely this isn't the topic you want us to cover, Brett.
Well, I mean, we're 5 minutes past at this point. I figured we just covered a really
6:30 hard out.
All right,
I got a pack.
Yeah. All right, one more topic, and this is what you want to talk about, the Super Bowl?
No, this has nothing to do with Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I posted this, and I'll go down to the tweet here in a second. But yeah, So I always knew CONCACAF refs are the worst, or perhaps the Super Bowl refs got it wrong, or got the wrong plane tickets. Because according to U.S. Soccer's youth national team for the U17 Women's World Cup, there was a false start in the first minute.
Huh? What?
Oh, it's like the football referees.
False start, then we're off. Okay.
Like,
That's a good tweet to skip.
It is. I agree.
Well, I've always got a bone to pick with U.S. Soccer's social media as a whole. So whenever I see stuff like this, I've got to bring it up.
Yeah,
well,
they're arguably the worst when it comes to social media.
They're not good at it. They need to hire somebody who knows what they're doing. But that's another story for another day. Maybe they're trying to get better at it, but they're not quite there yet. And I certainly think being involved with Brett Oppenheim is a good step for them.
Yeah.
So
listen, that enabled us to all go to that game in Austin, which I never thought would happen. Watching Pete and Tack roll in there, and I go, dude, this is like a scene from the Twilight Zone. You're here being welcome. It's like, this is bizarre. I go, but it's progress. You know, look, it'll never fall in line because they're the nature of what they talk about is always going to be very critical of the U.S. soccer. So I understand that. But again, just to see that, and Brett is a guy who carries some weight there, and he's trying, I think, to make it a bit better and more user-friendly in many ways and more. So it was a nice step to see.
And it's not going to change the way you talk about U.S. soccer, and it's not going to change the way Pete and Tack talk about U.S. soccer just because they brought you in. Now, they're hoping that might, influence you to be a little more gentle with them, obviously, but you've been critical when it's been necessary about Gregg, and we all have, and we're not going to stop doing it. I think that, but nobody's out there calling, Gregg a bad person or an awful human being. Well, okay, we're not. We're not.
But I mean, there's this fringe that is it's just crazy. I mean, I saw some crazy things during the World Cup, like. And it's just one person, but some comparisons to some really unsavory people. Like, wait a minute,
a lot of them are obviously just memes and stuff like that. But I mean, there's a group. I mean, there's definitely a group of people out there, and they're welcome to their opinion. And I would never root against the United States that are already sitting there going like, "Well, we need to flame out in the Copa just so we can get rid of Gregg." I'm like, I would never do that personally.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I'm a one cycle purist here. I don't think Gregg should have gotten a second cycle, not because of any incident.
And I agree with you. I thought I don't know what was said that made U.S. Soccer really convinced that they should bring him back, but something was.
Well, Betty,
which gives me some comfort. But I thought this was. As we got closer to the decision, I got the feeling that Gregg was going to come back, but it was pretty surprising.
Well, we interviewed all these dudes, said Betty Crocker thing. That's when you start looking like a farce, and you can't say that. And then it's such a farce that even mainstream media like Stephen A. Smith is saying, "What's going on? What is this? This is a joke." You can't do that. And so those are the kind of things they need to stop doing. Just be a little bit more open and say, "Listen, we always wanted him back. We didn't interview 18 guys. We didn't even really interview 3 guys, but because all the other guys refused to take the mental barrier test, whatever that mental test is. Remember the test, the 8-hour-long test that Berhalter had to go through all day long?
I think they still reached out to these candidates. Maybe not all of them, but maybe it wouldn't go that far down. But
Jesse came over. He interviewed, and then the one guy from France, and no. Vieira. But both of them, as reported to me through sources, say they refuse to take the mental test. They're like, I'm not sitting here for 6 hours. Here's my resume. Read my resume. Give me an interview. If you want me to go take some silly mental test for 6 hours, I'm not doing it. And they both left. So really the only guy willing to sit down and then take the mental test set up by whatever that stupid group is they hired was Gregg Berhalter. And so he passed the test. There you go. By the way, I know you're at your limit here, Max. So I just want to say, people, go watch Max. It's a soccer OG. Follow the podcast. Go check him out on YouTube. It's worth the watch, guys. Do it. I mean,
we appreciate it. I gotta have you guys on. I've had you on. Let's all get together again at some point.
I remember you told me I couldn't swear on your show.
You swear it anyway. You can swear on my show. You can swear. Just don't go overboard. I don't want it to be about the swearing.
No,
you said you had 2 cuss words here. That's it.
Right. I know, but yeah, I don't want it to be like that thing that went viral that 500,000 people saw. That was
we grew so much in that viral video. We need more of those.
That was the worst. That was a nightmare for me when I got home from work. I'm like,
when I hear Stu Holden's voice, I just want to stick an ice pick in my eye.
I know. I feel so. That was a stray. I'm so sorry for.
I know that's not you, Derek. That was a hot moment. You're a good guy. That's what I'm saying. Like you can have those guys on your show because I know when they're there, you'd be like, "Hey, man, look, I may have gone a little over."
Do you know about a lot of our U.S.?
I was in a bad moment. I was like,
I was. Yeah, go ahead.
You know about a lot of our U.S. Cultural moments that we've created. You laughed at the Betty Crocker comment earlier. Have you heard any other ones that we've mentioned? Like we've come up with the Matt Miazga kicked Berhalter's dog. That's why he was never included again.
Oh boy,
the turd in the background. Have you heard that?
In the background?
Yeah, I heard that at the beginning. What was that?
The turd in the background is a reference to Michael Kammerman that I accidentally made on a show because I couldn't remember his name. I was like, "Who's the guy who talks in the background? The turd in the background guy?" And then it went viral. So
what's the matter with you guys? You are viral machines.
We coined tight shirt Twelman.
Oh yeah, that was years ago though, and even he knows about it, which is funny. But hey, Max, we love that you came on the show today to talk about this topic. That we,
right on.
It is what it is. So have a great flight, and let's keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Love you, Max.
Let's do it again soon. Likewise. Much love.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. I wanted to introduce him to the. I went back and I was trying during the whole Colin spiel. Back and forth. I wanted because he made the comments like, "You guys never supported his YouTube channel, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, first off, I wanted to go back. I want to find out when our first interaction with Max was. And it was after when we came back. Because I was like,
right away.
I was scrolling through all of our old videos on your channel. And first off, I realized how horrible we were at titling when we had guests on.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think. So I went back to our first show here. And then the introduction led me to believe that was our first time we ever had him on the show. But I was like, dude, we've had him on our show. We've been on his show, or Derek's been on his show.
Yeah.
And we support his channel. We tell people to sub to it. We comment, but we're always friendly. But the thing is that what I don't think what Colin understands is that we're incredibly colorful in how we address things.
Yes.
So we can say, "Oh, what the fuck was that all about?" No, we're not angry at this person because of that, but we're just a little colorful when we say shit.
And it was just busting balls at times. By the way, that's not something people understand anymore, apparently. If you bust somebody's balls for something they said, they think you hate the dude. That's not true. The people who you have the most, like Brett and I off camera, and even on camera sometimes, we bust each other's balls. We make fun of shit that you said, I said, blah, blah. It happens, but that's because you're intimate with the person or you know them. And so you feel comfortable doing it. That's why we do it to Jimmy. That's why we can do it to Max. That's why we can do it to Tact and Pete. They know it's not personal. That's why we're able to do it. So there you go. And the story, I think Colin Reese takes this too sensitively.
I feel like most people need to they watch our show and they interact with us on Twitter, and you get a salty from time to time. But again, it's just that colorful reaction. Like, you tell somebody that they're pretty good at self-flating themselves, and it's not like you're really insulting them, but you're saying, "Hey, I don't agree with you," and go suck yourself,
It is self-flating, by the way, not self-fellatiating, which I made up a word last show. What the fuck? Brett looks jacked. Did not know he lifted weights. He does lift weights.
Yeah.
He does. You're trying to get in shape.
The shirt's nice and form-fitting, too.
I mean, I look like I'm buff too, right? Yeah. Except for my little moobs. All right. I'm trying to work off the moobs, actually. But that is going to take some effort. We had other things to cover on the show. Do we want to do what do we
I wanted to bring this up before we left, but we got off talking on a solid topic for the last 5-7 minutes, and I didn't want to interrupt it.
Okay.
He had made the comment in our very first show about how he would love it if you could do one of our intros for him, goes, "Oh, I really loved your intro. That was hysterical." And we talked about the intro for a while. So I wanted to show him your favorite segment of the show right now. Because we do have some of this news.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well, here we go, guys. Here it comes.
Right. Transfer news. Transfer news.
Transfer news.
Transfer news. But me. It's DMX for you. A little DMX in the background.
Yeah.
All right. It feels weird after having 2 shows in a row with guests to it just being us again. Doesn't it feel kind of weird? Kind of like the room's
normal.
Does it feel normal? Okay.
Well, and I mean, I love having people on. I love having Jimmy. I love having Tack, Pete, everybody on, Max. But there's a point where, like, obviously you want the guests to talk. There's a whole reason of having them on there. But then it's just you and me, and we're going back and forth, and we can kind of interrupt each other and riff off each other and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's like I think 2/3 of the conversation, I think we wanted him to talk, and we'd make our points, and we'd want to hear his response and go from there. And same thing when Tack, Pete, and Jimmy and all that stuff.
Yeah, now I feel like there's lots of pressure.
All the cool kids that we invite to our treehouse. I wonder if he's going to watch.
Oh, the treehouse. Yeah, we don't invite people we disagree with to the treehouse. Another crappy fucking tweet. Yes, we do. We've had Tact on the show last week, who we had a disagreement with. We've had Max on the show. We'll have Pete on as well. Okay. And we'll talk about his Olympic thing, his Olympic fever, that both Max and I do not share his Olympic fever. It feels intimate again. Yes, it does, Jack. Yeah. I feel like a reach around is coming at any moment. All right, let's see. Joins Feyenoord. Who's this kid? Oh, Paulo Rudisil. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. I'm not complaining, but a lot of kids have gone to Holland and gone to Oddsday, gone to PSV, now Feyenoord, and nothing ever came of it. So I wouldn't break out the Vaseline just yet. All right, and keep that.
Oh yeah. I mean, guys, we've seen this time and time again. Just let's wait. Be excited that we've got another Yank in Europe, and at that point, and we'll see what happens.
Don't be Matt Doyle. Don't say Mihailovic is going to dominate and fucking treat the other players that he's going to play against in Holland like bitches, because that's what he said. Well, not exactly, but sort of. The straight red card, Tackling 11 Yanks, is a closed ecosystem low-key. Others feel like outsiders, kind of, sort of. Yeah, we're not. Listen, I mean, Fumar, that's the thing. We're not really outsiders. That's because of our history and our old show and all the people that we knew back in the day. So people don't treat us like outsiders. But I think Pete and Tack still get treated like outsiders, unfortunately. And we're trying to change that one step at a time. Max is helping with that. Herc's helping with that. And they're helping themselves. So there we go.
So.
All right. Ricardo
that was the only
Pepi.
transfer news I had, guys. But let's talk about Pepi, because I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about it, but we kind of bounced around topics, and that's difficult. It's easier to do when it's just you and me talking, because I can kind of orchestrate with how it's going. But then whether it's Tact, whether it's Pete, Max, in the sense, they'll bring something up, and that'll kind of veer us off in another topic, which is great, because that's another topic that we weren't planning for. It's still, we had a lot to talk about.
Right.
And a lot of it was rushed. We could have easily have talked the 2 hours that we needed.
Oh, for sure. Man, I mean, we cut off memory lane, but we could have, and I'm sure anybody wants to listen to memory lane. But I mean, since Max and I go back to this, like the same sort of journalistic era with Bobby McMahon and all those other guys as well that were broadcasting back then. I mean, we have so many shared, like we were talking about Costigan, who's been on our show, and so many people that I used to stay in touch with regularly, but don't anymore. Like both of the guys on Fox Football Phone In. Of course, Bill Archer kind of ruined that, right? Because he and Steve, what was his name? Steve, I can't remember any of his name, but remember we had this little separate group of all journalists that used to hang out and talk to each other. And then they hated each other, and they just ruined the whole group. Like they were totally, like Bill Archer was just ripping Steve.
I can't think of his last name right now.
I know. So such English. No, it's actually a Jewish name. Cohen.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God, Steve Cohen and Bill Archer just hated each other. They ruined the whole journalist group that we had. Just ruined it. They everybody else said, well, I don't want to be a part of this group anymore because those guys hate each other and we're not butting it.
I love the fact that you and I are practically like just two outsiders who happen to have started a podcast and managed to get into this inner circle of people that have contacts and
I know
it's teams and everything. Well, who are we? Just two jackoffs out in cornfields of Indiana.
I know, and really the only reason is because Big Soccer put us on as their vidcast. So everybody was like, "Well, we kind of have to go on that show if it's on Big Soccer." And now Big Soccer is nothing. But anyhow, Ricardo Pepi, 1.97 goals per 90 minutes in the Eredivisie. It's the best rate among players, and I just wish he got more playing time, folks. That's all I'm saying. Like, they brought him on when it was 3-1, right? So the game was over.
Sure.
And but they could have brought him on earlier.
Well, I mean, that would have been the match, right? That would have been the match to bring him on. They're playing one of the worst teams in Holland at this point.
But they had to wait till 3-1. They couldn't put him on when it was 2-1.
Why not start him and give De Jong a break?
A rest.
We're going to be getting back into Champions League games here in a second. So why not? Why not give a striker who's not going to bring the level down and obviously offer opportunities to score goals? Give him a shot once in a while.
It's frustrating. I really wish he was getting more like 25 to 30 minutes a game and not 10. It's yeah, I know. He scored on his first touch and it was a ripper. Great goal. Nice. Another great goal. There's just no doubt there must be other Dutch teams watching this going, is De Jong going to be there again next year? Because if he is, we'd like to loan this guy out for the season. I mean, to be fair, De Jong is at the end of his career at PSV, so we will see what happens. I agree. I'm trying to be patient, Jack. I am. But when I see him play, when I see Pepi play, I'm like, if De Jong broke his leg tomorrow, I don't think this team would be affected one bit. I think Pepi could go out there and play that role and score goals.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he's got great people around him. So there you go.
All right. Didn't Gio have great Bundesliga stats despite lack of playing time? Not this season.
Yeah, not the season. The season before.
Last season, he had great stats. Yes.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Well, we're going to branch off to our other striker we debated earlier.
7 goals in 11 games for Norwich. Sargent can't stop scoring. Did I say it right? Norwich. You don't pronounce W's. So.
I saw a 2-minute clip of a Norwich podcast of some form, and they're talking about Sargent and that if he didn't have his injury and he was continuing to score on his trajectory now, he would have had 20 goals by this point in the season.
Yeah,
it's just the way it was going. Now, mind you, surely he wouldn't have been there, but it would have been significantly higher than where he's at now.
Yep. And by the way, in 1551, it was pronounced Norwich. It turned into.
I think it's the whole gnawbone thing, right? It's just at some point it just transitions in as dialects change slightly.
As the dialect changed in the country, they stopped pronouncing the W's. So but they still pronounce Ipswich and the W in Ipswich, but they don't pronounce the W in Norwich. And that's because the local dialect changed.
Yeah.
And it used to actually be pronounced Norwich. Look it up. The dialect changed. They dropped the W. Now it's Norwich. I support Norwich. All right. Sargent can't stop scoring. Derek, did you see? The attack gave you credit for teaching him how to say Oipen. No, I did not. I'll have to go back and look at
I'm going to try to pull it up here in a second.
Now I inhaled
volume down.
I inhaled my own spit. Hold on.
Well, that's no good. Don't do that.
Yeah, there are some things, liquids you don't want to inhale on accident. Spit, Coca-Cola, and cum. All right, hold on.
Truer words have never been said. Where are you at, Salonina? Come on.
All right, I think I'm better now. All right. What you got next? And by the way, love to Meg Swanwick. Many loves, many hearts. I hope Meg is doing well. And Yeah.
So we'll get her back on the show. I have sent another response for, like I said last show. It just so happened that I waited a year to respond back to her. Like, geez, I hope your schedule cleared up. I mean, it's been a year.
Sorry, Meg.
You'll have to go back and find that, and we'll bring it up another point. Because he doesn't have Selenia's face up at all.
I really need to get I understand why Meg won't give me your phone number. No, I'm just kidding.
It's fair if she's watching any of our shows, Derek. Oh, God.
Listen, I only said that because, man, if my wife loved soccer as much as Meg Swanik, that marriage would still be together today. There wouldn't have been a divorce. There would have been harmony, perfection. But yeah, my wife didn't really care about soccer. That was a huge part of my life.
I know we talked about this earlier with Max, and I feel like it kind of got glossed over a bit, but I kind of wanted to come back to this real quick because I feel like what if Leagues Cup is going on during that time period during the Olympics,
right? What
club is going to release any player that's worth
a damn? Nobody.
Again, Chicago's not releasing Guti and Brady. Neither of them can get any fucking playing time for the national team because Chicago doesn't want to release them, which is great for them, I guess, for Chicago in that sense. But sucks for the exposure of both of those players moving forward. Luna's not going anywhere.
Nope. But the whole Philly youngsters, they can all come because they don't get to play at Philly. What's it, McGlynn?
Yeah. Craig's that locomotive.
Craig.
Sullivan.
There you go. Just send the whole Philly youth.
Yeah, the youth. It'll be the Philly youth squad. Yeah, and then whatever youth players in Europe aren't playing for their big boy teams.
Yep. I mean, it'll be a scrappy team. It's going to be a junkyard of players. I mean, they're not junk. They'll just be. It'll be sort of scraps. You're not going to get the best to play the Olympic space because of this fact. You're not even going to get the best MLS American players now. So you're not going to get the best domestic-based players, and you're not going to get any, outside of an exception maybe, of the European-based players. So the Olympics is going to turn into exactly what I've been saying it's going to be. Meaningless as far as the development of future American prospects, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're gonna send a bunch of players who aren't seeing first time minutes. They're gonna go and they haven't been playing together.
They have to be unimportant.
There's no chemistry, and I don't know. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be kind of a shit show in that sense.
I mean, if you're domestic based or European based, the only way you're making the Olympic team or getting to go to the Olympics is if you're an unimportant player. Let me put that succinctly. You have to be unimportant. Barzar Rokhtarovich.
Yeah.
Although I have learned to say his last name now. So
what did say it again? I'm gonna master it at some point.
No, you got to put it back up. I can only say it when I read it. Barzar Rokhtarovich. Even though this is written Barzar Rokhtaroviv. It's a C at the end, not a V.
I'll give Leverdot a 2 thumbs up for getting pretty damn fucking close to it. If it's not accurate.
It's just missing the C at the end, but it's close.
That's the only difference? Yeah. Okay.
Barzar Rokhtarovich. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean. So yeah.
It's easier there than Ankaragachu.
This will be an interesting this could be an interesting topic to bring back up to Pete and Tact and have a discussion.
Well, Pete
I know
mostly.
Yeah.
Tact doesn't care about the Olympics either.
Oh, I thought he was pro Pete on that.
I think he's kind of in the middle of the road, whereas Pete's like, the Olympics are really important because thousands of Americans will be watching, and if we do well, it'll bring more of the casual fans in to watch soccer. Not really. It's never really happened like that in the Olympics, and it's definitely not going to happen next time with Leagues Cup going on at the same time. And if they do all watch it, the one thing that it will tear them away. They won't want to watch U.S. soccer after watching that because it's going to be scraps playing in that game. Scraps and I don't want to say scrubs, but Olympics are huge for casuals. I know that's what Pete says, but they're going to be turned off. They're going to be watching a bunch of scraps play for us. And I'd rather them not watch Olympic soccer. And mostly they're interested in women's Olympic soccer, not men's. Men's gets very little coverage, by the way, compared to the women's Olympic team, because it's a bigger tournament for the women because they have fewer big tournaments than the men do. Anyhow,
so jumping into Yanks Abroad, I wanted to cover a big topic that popped up over the weekend. And this isn't we'll talk about one of the games that I watched, that I witnessed this. Did you end up watching the Wolfsburg game?
Yeah.
Wolfsburg Union game?
Yeah, Paredes ran around for 70 minutes and just never really made an impact.
Not a lot played down his side, quite frankly. He had a couple of moments early on in the match.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I felt the tone of the game changed once the protests all occurred. All the balls came flying onto the pitch.
And it happened at a couple other games I watched this weekend too.
Yeah, there at least two. Right. Yeah,
I think there were three.
It was another American game. I think actually they got it too.
Hoffenheim game, I believe it was. Maybe
it might have been them. But yeah, the game was moving on. I thought Wolfsburg had the bulk of the control, and then all of a sudden the tennis balls came on, and at that point, I just think any form of chemistry they had going kind of shifted, and then Union got their goal. And at that point, Wolfsburg was flailing.
And they brought on Aronson to play defense for 30 minutes.
So it was funny because I made the joke and I couldn't do it on my phone at the time, but because they didn't have the GIF for it. But I was like, people were talking about Aronson. Like, Aronson's being Aronson. I'm like, I think Aronson's doing exactly what the coach told him to in this game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to post the GIF of from The Incredibles where Mrs. Incredible tells Dash, and Dash, if something were to happen, I want you to run as fast as you can. And Dash goes, as fast as I can. And he goes, as fast as you can. That's what it was. I mean, all Aronson did was run. He ran around. He pressured and made the game sloppy for the opposition, for Wolfsburg.
Exactly what he was told to do.
He had one decent opportunity where I think he overthought the decision and flubbed the pass.
Yep.
It was, I mean, I really think that's what his coach, because the coach put him at 30 minutes left in the game. That's unheard of for Aronson.
To play defense, basically,
So
yeah.
He's just like, go out there and bust your ass. That's basically what I think he imagined he said. So
but as you pointed out, once he was near the box, he fucked up. He fucked up again. So whenever, and it's not a criticism of his girlfriend, whom I'm sure they have great relations, but I mean, how many times are we going to see it this season where he just gets, when he's near the box, he makes poor decisions. He gets nervous. I don't know. It's just weird.
There were a couple times he was inside the 6, and if the ball would have gone to him, I think he would have had a chance on goal or just outside a goal.
Maybe
that happened many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he it was one of those games. I think what was asked of Aronson, I think he did a decent job of it. Because I think they played into his wheelhouse, quite frankly.
They were looking for a 1-0 win, and they got it.
We're up 1-0. We're going to grind this out. You go out there. You're my workhorse.
Yep.
Go out there and run them ragged.
And he did. He never got tired.
But yeah, so the big issue with the whole tennis balls, and I'm not sure if this was across the board over all the games that it happened, but at least in this game, around the 21st or around 30-something minute or maybe 20th minute or somewhere in that range, they started throwing tennis balls. They cleaned them off, and as they're cleaning them off, one more person would throw it on there. Then they had to clean that off, and shit fucking happened. They had 21 minutes of stoppage time in that first half. The other game had something like 16 minutes. Oh, the Union goal, I wanted to bring that up real quick. Because of the 21 minutes of stoppage time, Union ended up scoring off of a corner kick. One of their center backs, one of Wolfsburg's center backs went down with a busted bridge of his nose.
Mm-hmm.
Ref's like, "Now you got blood. Get out of here. Go."
Mm-hmm.
And he went off to go get that taken care of during a corner kick, and the guy he would have marked ended up scoring. So that's kind of funny, and that's right. But that also happened at the 24th minute.
Yeah,
they went 3 minutes past the 21 minutes that they were given to him. So that's nuts.
It's crazy. who are these investors that the fans are? Here's the crazy thing. If big ass bank investors wanted to do whatever with whatever league they wanted to do it with in the United States, everybody here, for the most part, they wouldn't protest. They wouldn't protest.
No.
Like, we have so embraced the oligarchy, the the ownership class, the billionaire class. We've so embraced that in this country. We're like, yeah, we gotta buy it all out. Fuck it. Take it all. Buy everything. Fucking make it a monopoly. Fuck it. We don't care. But in Europe, they ain't putting up with that shit. They're protesting that shit. They're like, no, we do not want that. We do not want the Bundesliga to be a corporately owned by a bunch of suits and run and invested in by a bunch of fucking suits. No, we want it. We like it the way it is. We want to keep it the way it is. It says on December 11th, 2023, 36 clubs of the Bundesliga and 2 Bundesliga decided to allow investor to buy into the German Football League as the league's governing body. The DFL is responsible for organization and marketing. However, 2/3 majority vote required to adopt the plan was wafer thin, with 24 clubs voting in favor. One fewer vote in favor would have killed the plan, as happened in May 2023, when a similar vote failed to provide a 2/3 majority. So they're trying again, and they won't stop trying. The DFL plan is for it to cede a maximum of 8% of the proceeds from licensing rights to an investor for a period of 20 years. This primarily involves revenue from media rights for the first, second division. The price to the investor around $1 billion. Most of the money would be used to fund DFL projects such as expansion of its streaming services. Who the investor will be is to be decided by the end of March. 2 hopefuls are still in the running. The U.S. investment company Blackstone, they would hate that. And the Luxembourg, they would hate that. Blackstone, what a pile of shit that company is. And the Luxembourg-based financial company CVC. Like, you want to know the bottom of the barrel of the worst of immoral people and immoral leaders? Blackstone has to be there. I mean, what they're doing in this country is ridiculous. And I'm not even going to get into it because I don't want to get into politics. But you don't want them running your fucking or owning your fucking league. It's ridiculous. So why are the fans protesting? Protests continue. On the one hand, the fan organizations are strictly opposed to the entry of investors. They see this as the beginning of the end of the German football 50+1 rule, which provides an outsider investor from securing a majority of votes in a club. 50% plus 1 share must always remain in the hands of the club's members. And that's how it's been for a long time. And that's what's kept the Bundesliga solid for a long time. Unlike other leagues, namely Italy, we don't see a bunch of German teams going under every fucking year because of this rule. And the fans and supporters of each of the teams really do have a say in a lot of these clubs. They have a strong say. They will lose that if this becomes a single entity basically owned by, this is like Formula One being owned by Liberty Media. Like, Liberty Media, even though the FIA approved Andretti, the FIA, which is the governing body of racing, approved Andretti to be in Formula One, the greedy fucks at what's called the Liberty Media, the managers of the sport, the owners of the sport, said, no, we don't want Andretti. We don't care if he passes all your little tests and shit. That's what the kind of shit you're going to get if this happens. And they don't want that to happen. And I mean, we don't need greedy mitts everywhere. Greedy mitts. But, you know, you can call it capitalism if you want, but that's at some point. We have the right to say, no, I'm not selling my company to you. I'm not selling my organization to you because you don't share my values. You're not here to help anybody. You're just here to make money for the people that fucking have stock in your company. And that doesn't always mean you're going to care about the people that work here, because you're going to care about them getting their paycheck and not us, the people that work here. Yeah, I mean, this isn't even capitalism anymore. I'm sorry. It's just not. I mean, not in the way it was originally envisioned. We can get into that debate. I don't want to. This show is not political. But, yeah, that's where we are.
All right, and then last thing about this is just the response.
How hardened are the fronts? The DFL sees no reason to reverse the decision made in December. There is no sellout, no loss of control, and no departure from the 50+1, and therefore no reason for horror scenarios. But we've all seen it. We've all seen horror scenarios. It was like back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, when you had, at one point you had hundreds of different, I'll use an example of music companies making records, right? So you had all these different labels you could sign for. Well, now there's 5. They're not hundreds. There's 5. And back then, there were hundreds of independent radio stations. Now there are no independent radio stations. There are like 3. That's like saying there's independent newspapers. There are none. The Gannett and all, they all bottom up. There's basically 3 people controlling all the media you see, 3 companies. So you want to live in that world? All right, go for it.
Well,
and that's what they're afraid of, because it's always an inching towards taking the power away from independence.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, well, what's the DFL going to say? Oh, yes, absolutely. We're taking away the 50+1 rule. You know,
right.
They're going to come out there like, guys, calm down. There's nothing to see here. This is just going to flood a little bit more money our way, you know?
Right.
But, of course, it's always – that's how it always works. It's just a chip, 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 chip. And then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yep. And if you could give me some examples, you can't give me one in the American media world where that hasn't happened, because it was a chipping away. And then you have companies that aren't monopolies in the sense that they own all of one industry, but they may own 80% of the radio industry, 60% of the newspaper industry, 50%, 60% of the broadcasting industry. And then you're looking at, okay, those are all different industries. I get it. So it's not a monopoly. They don't own 100% of the broadcast industry, but they own 30%. And then 2 other guys own another 30%. Mm-hmm. That's 3 people now that we got to rely on. And this is just an example. Those aren't exact numbers for our news. I got to trust 3 different major corporations to provide me my news now? No, that's why I don't watch them. I watch independent journalists who do their own work and their own research and don't have to beck and call to Pfizer or some military industrial complex corporation. No, they do their own research. They can say what they want. And they'll probably be banned. They'll probably be blocked. Their video may be removed from YouTube sometimes. I don't know. That's what I hear. So, well, I do know some examples, actually. I won't get into them. So, yeah. We live in a creepy ass world where basically the elites are telling us what to think and believe every day. And that's where we're stuck. Where does Dortmund spend the money? Because it sure isn't on players.
Well, I mean, for every year that you have a Haaland and Jude Bellingham being sold that year and everything, you've got years like this one, where you might nickel and dime a 6 million player here, a youth player, a 4 million player there, loan out a player and get $1 million. So it's not like they're not. I mean, every year is not a grand slam by any means. They got to make up for other years. You got to put some in the coffers and address that when it happens.
Right. I mean, that's their whole thing, right? Develop Jude Bellinghams and selling them. Yeah. That's what they did.
Or they were doing, at least.
That's what they were doing. Yeah, that's where they want to start. Good to be on, guys. Thanks. Hey, Max, safe flight. Thank you for coming on. Love having you. Great time. Wish you could have stayed for 2 hours, but you stayed as long as you could. And we appreciate that. But I'm glad Brett he didn't tell him that. Yeah, you got to come on for 2 hours, because he'd been like, no, I can't do 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, he knows now. He'll next time he comes on, he'll know for certain.
Right, exactly. Do we have more topics before I get to?
Let's do the Yanks Abroad, because we're gonna. Okay. I want to talk about certain games here and there, but yeah, let's do the Yanks Abroad.
Well, now. We can as we get to them here.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I'm going to start with Cardoso. Johnny Cardoso went 90, had an assist in the win for Real Betis. And I told you, I texted you, I was like, dude, you got to watch that game. If you have to go watch a game, watch this one, because Cardoso is just a fucking boss. He's the boss of that game. He was so good, so competent, always where he needed to be. Not saying he played a flawless game, but if this is the Johnny Cardoso of the future, we have a whole new weapon in our repertoire at the USMNT national team. I did not think he would go to La Liga and look this good. And I think he was voted MVP of the game too.
Well, I mean,
Really.
we're sitting at a situation now where we have obviously Adams isn't back, so that's not even contention right now. But
Right.
I mean, Moose is getting 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there.
Well, he got a good chunk this weekend.
I'm just saying in general, though.
Yeah, but he started some games too, so it's not a total loss for Musa.
No, I mean now we have a contender to compete, because assuming we continue with the 4-2-3-1,
I hope so.
and we have a Gio / Tillman type role available, not necessarily the 4-3-3 that we've grown accustomed to over the years. You'd imagine that the two pivots at that point would be Weston Musa or Weston and Cardoso at this point.
Right. Now we've got another opportunity, and they're different players.
Yeah,
Cardoso and Musa, definitely different players. But something Cardoso's already done in 3 games, is get an assist. Musa, he should have had one this weekend. I mean, he laid off the perfect ball. Or was that last weekend? Anyhow, regardless, he should have an assist, but that's what we're looking for as well from the double pivot. Das Champions, he's going to compete with Adams.
not
Musa. Not
Not
Musa.
But the problem here, Das Champions, is we don't have the Adams role. And like if we play the 4-3-1 and have Adams roll back, sure. Okay, I can understand that. But we don't have that role right now. With Adams gone, we play the 4-2-3-1, and that would be the Musa or McKennie role. He's not going to take over for Reyna / Tillman.
Yeah, I mean, Adams got an uphill battle going ahead of him, not only this injury, but getting back and actually getting playing time for Bournemouth, getting back in fitness, showing that injury hasn't made him any worse long term. And yeah, there are no guarantees if you're playing a double pivot in a 4-2-3-1 that you'll need an Adams, unless you're going to plan on playing a lot of defense. Then maybe you would start him instead of Musa. But Cardoso can play defense too. So now it's Adams versus Cardoso. There you go.
Well, and on top of that, you even have Maloney chipping away match after match. I mean, he had a hell of a match this week.
He had a hell of a game. Goal. Right.
Yeah.
Scored a goal. Yeah, okay. That's somewhere in this report. Kaveh Zahir-Al-Islam went 90 in a win for St. Truden. Alex Porto, 90 in a loss for the Fulham U21s.
Real quick. Fumar does say that Adams is back in training at Bournemouth until he pulls another groin muscle.
I mean, we'll see. This is one of those injuries that just doesn't seem to be going away.
I feel bad for the guy still.
But we'll stick around and we'll see what happens there. Nate Brown, 90 minutes in a tie for Nuremberg. Gioacchini went his first 10 in a win for Como in Italy. Osandina, 20 for Dordrecht in a loss. Cade Cowell, 2 goals. This is on Friday. 2 goals, an assist, and a win. 2 goals, and they were all his assists and his 2 goals with his left foot. Holy shit.
Against a lower, wasn't that? No, never mind. Am I mixing up the champion? Was that against Forge? Was that the Champions League match?
Yes, it was.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Forge.
Fair enough. He scored goals. That's all that really matters at the point, right?
But, I mean, the big thing is
after him.
left foot. I mean, who knew he had one?
And I guess I maybe I didn't pay attention when he got to Chivas. I thought, wasn't he playing more out wide? Because he was playing the top striker in this last match, at least according to where he's positioned.
He's played up top for them so far. He's played out right and he's played out left. So he's
playing out right.
He's all over the place. But I mean, one of the goals came from the right center of the box, so he had to use his left foot.
Yeah,
and he scored. So listen, I'm all about eating crow. If Cade Cowell takes what he did against Forge and starts doing it regularly on the Mexican league, then I will say he's grown as a player, but he's got to keep doing it. I mean, he doesn't need to score 2 goals a game, but using the left foot for not only a great chip pass for an assist, that was a really good pass. So I'm willing to eat crow. Cade Cowell, make me eat crow. Keep dishing it to me.
But I mean, I guess you can always assume that he will have some form of growth at some point in his career, but whether or not it's growth in the sense that he's going to be contending for a spot, because if he continues to play up top, and I've seen people in the chat were saying they're playing him at center forward, they're playing him as a false nine. I mean, would we continue to think of him as a wing option, or are we going to have to throw him into the long list of strikers at that point?
We can do whatever the fuck we want. Just because, listen, the fact is they played him all over so far. They played him as a winger. They played him at center forward. They played him as a 10. That means that he can play in a lot of different places. The same is true for the West Men's national team. But, I mean, if you're looking at center forward, he's way behind there. You're looking at a 10 spot, he's still behind there. If you're looking at a winger spot, he's still behind there. He's got a lot of fucking work to do.
He's young. He's got time too. So
he's got a lot of work to do to prove himself as an option, even off the bench, ahead of, say, Sargent or Coventry City Haji. So those guys are doing it.
That's the other thing too, right? He's scoring goals in Liga MX, and then all of a sudden you compare him. Oh, he play out wide. I'm like, well, you got players playing in the championship that are scoring goals,
right? And
so,
yeah, I mean, Haji played center forward for the first time in ages for Coventry City this weekend. He's been playing out left all season. Let's see, Tim Ream. Oh God, man of the match, of the match. That dude stopped every goddamn serious attack. And I mean, the guy calling the game, English guy, was just, he was giving Reem a fucking, a nut massage, a Reem job. I mean, he loved Tim Ream because Tim Ream was everywhere cleaning up shit. And yeah, so they won. Jedi, not his best game. But he was there. He was there to cover.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I know it's football, so take it with a massive grain of salt. They still had him as listed as one of the highest ranking players on the pitch. I didn't watch the game, so I'm looking at him like, oh, I mean, the funny thing is, I looked at his stats, and he had it looked like his stats basically projected or stated that he had no offensive presence, but he had some good defensive presence.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Tackles. His recoveries, his passes were fine, but he had no crosses, no chances created, et cetera, et cetera.
It's pretty obvious they were trying to hold on to the victory.
Yeah.
And so they took a big pummeling in the second half. They held off. They won the game. It's my team. It's Fulham. So that made me feel great that day. And just to see Tim Ream back in the starting lineup after that injury. And didn't wear the captain's arm, by the way. Goalkeeper did, but somebody else did. And once they went off, they gave it to Tim, I believe. But still, it was good to see. He's just as good as ever. He was back to his goldness, which was great. Ream will lose his spot when Bassett comes back from Nigeria. It's very possible that could happen. But if he plays like that, game after game, it's going to be really, really hard to take Tim Ream off. I don't know how you can do that to a guy, but it could happen. Yeah.
You got to play at that point. If he's still playing at that high of a level, you've got to sit there and why would I take him off? If it ain't broke,
Right. I mean, the other guy gives you more speed, length. He's bigger, but who is the guy clearing 90% of the corner kicks out of the box in the last game? Tim Ream. He's only 6'1". It's not like he's a massive mammal. Reyna went 20.
Real quick, just so I can get rid of the chat here. Das Champion says, watch the championship. I would love to watch at least specific teams in the championship, but I don't have the ability to.
Right. We watch.
I'm sorry, I'm not paying Norwich $15 a game or whatever the fuck they require.
Yeah, fuck that. We do get ESPN Plus, but they always play lame ass teams that don't have Americans on, except for this weekend when I got to watch Coventry City and Millwall play. Remember when I was making fun of who the fuck would I want to watch Millwall? Yeah. And then I got Millwall, but at least I got Coventry City with it.
Oh.
So
yeah, I know the response to somebody else, but I was just I wanted to bring it up because that's one thing we always talk about every time, every show when we talk about Yanks Abroad. I would have loved to have watched Sargent play this weekend, but I couldn't.
So I had to watch the highlights.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Well, Umar says ESPN Plus carries championship.
2 games.
Championship.
I mean, go look at it, Fumar. They give you a couple games every weekend. That's it. It's lame. They could give us more. Why don't we have like half the games to watch? There's only 10, 11 games, right? 11, 12 games a weekend. They could give us half that, you would think. And could they pick the teams the Americans play in? Coventry City, Norwich. ESPN Plus shows the games that are airing on Sky Sports, so it's up to them, not ESPN. Yeah, you're probably right. Oh, no, you are right.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm just telling you what I want to watch. That's what I want to watch. All right. Reyna 20. We already talked about Reyna extensively so far with Max, so I'm not going to get there. DK injured again. Well, and it could just be broken, Brett.
I did want to jump back to Forrest really quick, and this isn't necessarily about Gio, because obviously this would have been before Gio even entered the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Forrest should have had the PK.
Yeah,
they should have had the PK. The keeper clearly took him out.
Yep.
And it went to VAR, and he's like, nope, not a penalty. How?
Yeah, and I would also say Max Sells was looked really good and reliable for Nottingham Forest so far. And it doesn't look like the jittery Matt Turner we've been seeing. So that's got to bring them some confidence.
Turner might just get the cup matches for the time being.
Yeah, and he's earning them. We'll see, because he was great. Well, it wasn't all great, but he did save the PK.
How could that game could have been so different if the PK was given at that point? Because then they would have gone up 3-2 at that point moving forward.
And then you got to wonder, does Reyna even come on? Because
no, he would have still came on. I guarantee that. They may have subbed different people out. Of course, at that point when they're down 3-2, because just after the PK, Newcastle got their third goal, and that was a phenomenal pass to Newcastle. What's his name on the left hand side?
Oh boy, you're testing my Newcastle
not Newcastle Forest. Right. Right winger. I'm spacing his name right now.
Is this the English kid?
Maybe. I don't know what nationality he is.
Is he a hyphenated player?
He's one of he's top. He's the right winger. He's all the way up there. He got the goal. He got one of the goals, I thought. Right?
Yeah.
First goal. There it is. Alinga.
Thank you. God damn it.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. It's Alinga. I mean, Alinga crossed the ball into the middle of the pitch, and it went right to Newcastle guy, and they scored their goal.
Yeah,
it was a dumb play, but the game would have been completely different. I still think Gio would have came on probably the same time period, but instead of taking Yates out and pushing White back, they may have made a bit of a different change. Maybe they brought out a Doy or something like that. I don't know.
It is interesting
after that gift, but they're down. They needed a goal, so they put White back.
Yeah, and they let Reyna play basically gives White spot at the 10.
Ideally, I don't have a problem. I mean, my limited knowledge of Forest. Again, I haven't really started watching them until Reyna went there. My limited knowledge of Forest, I thought White looked fine at that 8 role that played back, and it almost looked kind of like Berhalter 4-3-3 at that point, because you had an 8 and you had more of an offensive-minded 8, kind of.
I mean, theoretically, you could play a 4-1-4-1, and you could get have one holding mid in front of the back 4, and have both Reyna and Gibbs White playing in a more attacking, advanced role in the second line of 4. So we'll see what happens. Because I mean, listen, I trust Nuno. I think he's a great manager. I think he's going to figure out a way to get Reyna on the field eventually.
Well, the amount of control that he brings to the game, and again, you can make the same comments you always make about Reyna. He was never dispossessed. His passes were always clean. He always moved open spaces. Always asked for the ball.
Yep.
And if you had him all match doing that, I think it opens up Force a little bit more. Not necessarily on the counter and attack, but it opens them up to create opportunities.
Because people are going to somebody's going to have to be assigned to follow him around.
Yeah.
Because he's too dangerous. I guess you don't have to man mark him.
They kind of did that. They kind of did that in the end. Newcastle ended up pretty much just following him around.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand why. And I think other teams will probably do that. And that is problematic. But as long as there are other teams that won't, and they're playing a pseudo zone, I say get Reyna the ball as much as you can. And as he did in this early part of coming in, he went all over looking for the ball. He's like, give me the ball. I'm right here. I'm going to triangle with you two guys. Now I'm going to go over there. I'm going to move the ball here. I'm going to move it over into this open space. So I think as the Forest fans are saying on their podcasts, etc., you can see the class, as they put it. You can see the class. This kid's a step above all these other guys. Put him on the field. Put him on the pitch. All right. DK, I hate to say it, but looking like a Josh Scott
injured prone.
Yeah, looking like a real Josh. Yeah, it's rough, and I feel so horrible for him. As hard as he worked for those 9 months to get back on the pitch, and then immediately get injured again. Yeah, listen, guys, some players are just unfortunately not built to play. And Josh Scott was a great example. But I hope that's not the case for DK. But I don't know how many more of these he can come back from, honestly.
Well, he had knee injuries, and he's had this is an Achilles issue right now, right?
I'm not exactly sure, but
I mean,
it's bad enough to be carted off.
They're the last couple of injuries that have been like major injuries that have been season-long injuries, and I know that there are even West Brom fans that are sitting there going like, "Get this guy off the team." I'm like, it sucks. Well, it sucks to say that about a current player that's going through injuries, but I can also understand that they're spending money on a player that's just constantly injured, and that's rough.
Oh, I get that.
People are sitting there going like, "Get him out of here,"
But that's just not how I would say it. Get him out of here. I would say,
"Oh no, yeah, definitely rude." Yeah,
they're rude, and they're saying, "Get him out of here." It's like, listen, I'd be like, "Listen, it's really sad. I'm sad for the player, but we can't keep paying this guy because he can't stay on the field." Now that comment I would understand, but get him out of here. Suck my dick.
Yeah. Chambers and Das Champions are also all saying that they're both Achilles issues, and he said one thigh. He's also had a shoulder issue. Don't forget the shoulder issue.
Yeah, that was easier. You could actually play with that, which he did.
He still missed time though. He still missed time due to it. So
yeah, Gooch 60 minutes and a loss for Stoke, who looked like they were heading towards the bottom. Ethan Horvath was in the 18th and Horvathed it for 90 minutes at Cardiff.
He just got there. Maybe he'll come back.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't even know why he went there if he was an assured
starter.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Dwayne Holmes did not dress. Is this going to be another team that Dwayne Holmes, like he was at Derby, he couldn't get along with the staff. They kicked him out, sent him to Huddersfield. Huddersfield played him, but then they were sick of him. They got rid of him. They sent him to Preston North End. He started at the beginning of the season, was a big part of their success at the beginning of the season. And as things got worse, now he doesn't even dress. He's not listed on the injury list. Please tell me this is not another Dwayne Holmes wearing out his welcome in the locker room incident. God help me if it is.
I imagine teams will just sign him to a 1-year contract at this point because they can get 2/3 of a season out of him before they want to offload him.
Ship him out because he's apparently like a virus in the locker room.
Maybe he'll end up having to go down another league to like League 1, League 2.
He's too good for that.
Well, that's my point being is that he'll have to take a pay cut, but they'll at least play him and they'll at least accept the fact that maybe he's locker room cancer or something. I don't know.
Wrexham.
Yeah.
Dwayne Holmes to Wrexham tomorrow. I don't think Wrexham would do that because one of the things Wrexham is known for, and one of the things they've been doing is building this absolutely immaculate locker room chemistry.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
You don't want to bring in poison.
Why would they really?
Yeah. You don't want to bring in poison like Dwayne Holmes. Apparently, and we've mentioned it before, he didn't get along with Berhalter either. They had a big shouting match.
Yeah, but we can both agree that's probably on Berhalter.
Well, yeah, I mean, so did other players had shouting matches with him. Hoppy, Miazga, Brooks had shouting match with him. So he's a prickly character. He and Rooney hated each other. And, I mean, they went at it, apparently, in the locker room. So when he was at Derby. So, all right, we'll move on. Matthew Hoppy did not dress, not surprised. He has not played in any of their under 23s or under 21s. I mean, and
I'm sorry to say, but at this point, I have more hope that Soto will represent the United States before Hoppy does.
Yeah. Sargent went 69, got another goal. I mean, I don't know what can you say?
We nothing more than what we already said. We talked about him.
Keeps doing it.
Scored another one, and he'll continue.
Yeah.
I guess my big question is given his scoring rate and how he's done for Norwich over the past 2 seasons, what are the odds that if Norwich doesn't get promoted, that he might get picked up by somebody else?
He might. If he can stay healthy, yeah, I think so. But, that's been his Achilles heel. That's a bad term to use.
Not anymore. I mean, he did have that ankle injury, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, there are different. He's had all different injuries, which is kind of the problem, right? It's not just the same thing reoccurring. It's funky ass things happening. Parade, broken leg. Paredes, 74, pretty anonymous minutes for Wolfsburg. Aronson came in. We already said did his barking dog job for 30. So Union Berlin could beat Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg not looking good, and I don't know if the coach is going to be around much longer. That seems to be the talk of the town, which isn't good for Paredes because the current coach likes him. PFOC 46, and then he was carted off too.
Another injury, yeah.
Jesus.
I will say that makes U.S. men's national team fans' job of predicting who's going to be a starting striker a lot easier with another injury, unfortunately. I mean, I would love to have a healthy PFOC up there in contention that we could have an argument about it. But at this point, it's so simple. It's like, who's going to be our 2 strikers? Well, it's going to be one of these 3 players.
Yeah, and you know what? If PFOC were healthy, what I don't understand about Gladbach and the way they set up, why not play Playa and PFOC up top, or at least play them together? Get Playa on the field. What are you fucking doing? You can't score goals there. Player can score or at least create scoring opportunities. And so now that PFOC's gone, Player's got a big role. He's got a big role for Gladbach. They are not looking good either. They're near the bottom. Excuse me. I'm sneezing. Oh my God.
I noticed.
All right. Whew. That came out of nowhere. All right. Then Maloney went 90. Great game. Great win.
Second great game in a row, yeah.
Sitting 6th or what in the table. Heidenheim, little village in fucking Germany.
They've got a village population of like 50,000.
It's crazy.
I think everybody and their mother goes to the games because that's how they're going to fill that stadium.
I know. And people, if you're not watching the Heidenheim games, you're not watching Maloney, you wouldn't know. But he's really important for that team. And we were criticizing for being just another center back, but this time he contributes.
To that point, though, even if you're watching the Heidenheim games, it's very likely that you may not necessarily catch him all the time.
No,
he does. I feel like a lot of his game is one cleaning up stuff. That's when you generally see him. The other times is him cutting off the passing lanes, forcing errors that you just don't see, and there's no stat for that shit.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You wouldn't notice him sometimes because he's busy shutting down the alleys. And even though he's in the middle of the park, that's the weirdest thing. He's in the middle of the field, but you're like, not. But a lot of play goes down to the wings, so it's understandable. Reynolds, 90 for Westerlo. Griffin Yao, 83 in a tie. Fossey, 78 in a win for Standard Liège. Another guy it would be nice if somebody was paying attention to at U.S. Soccer. Slonina, 90 in a loss for Eupen.
There it is.
Eupen. And then we got Keylor Figueroa, 90 minutes for the U18 Liverpool team. Got a goal and an assist and a win. Johan Gomez, 59 for Braunschweig in a win. St. Pauli, by the way, and Fabian Hertzler did lose. I mean, it's been a long time since they lost a game. I think they're still at the top of the table, St. Pauli, but again, Fabian Hertzler, German-American.
Somebody had mentioned in the chat earlier in the show, and I couldn't quite bring it up because there wasn't really a moment to bring it up, but they had mentioned that St. Pauli had had a stripper pole in the stadium, and there'd be girls dancing on there because what part of their investor group, I guess, was a stripping company. I guess that's what they said. I don't know.
That's so St. Pauli, but really funny thing. I mean, they're kind of a working man's club, so I'm surprised they would have stripper poles. But did you? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I guess. Did you find the clip, Brett? No,
I don't know what clip you're talking about, Bimar.
The one of Tact talking about.
Oh no! I mean, I would have to sit here quiet listening to Tact because I scrolled through. I went down the timeline looking for Slonina's face to pop up.
Yeah,
and I couldn't find it.
Yeah. All right.
If someone wants to give me a timestamp, we'll pull it up and we'll listen to him give Derek props for correcting him.
Timestamp it, and then we'll pull it up. Lund 86 in a win for Palermo. Bucio 88. Tessman is injured. I don't know what the state of his injury is, but they won, and they are in fourth last I looked.
Where's Al at? We could use Al. Al would have the insight as far as what's happening with Tessman. He follows them.
Yeah, I couldn't find any report on his injury. I don't know if it's serious. I don't know if it's a knock. Could be a knock. Novakovic went 90, and again, for Lecco, in a loss, they sit at the bottom of the table in Serie B. Austin Trusty was in the 18, did not play at all, as they totally switched formations and actually played a real left back at left back instead of Trusty, who's not a left back. He's a center back.
So, Das, is this your second channel? Because I've seen both of you guys in here. I assume this was you. Wasn't 100% positive, but given the fact that you were adamant about not claiming Pepi's in the top three striker options, I assumed it was you, but yeah.
So you think Das Champions and Al Weinstein are the same person?
Yeah.
Okay.
It said his personal email was hacked.
Oh. No. Yeah, because we're used to seeing Al Weinstein, not Das Champions, and whatever that photo is of
I knew that was part of your shtick and all, but I was like, is that him? I thought it was somebody else at some point. So,
Paxton Aronson got 90 minutes for Vitesse, who Vitesse is the worst team in Holland. They did lose, and get this, he played as part of a double pivot in front of the back four. Isn't that fucking weird? I guess they're like, how do we get this guy on the field? We don't want to take our offensive players off because they're doing their jobs. But we are hurting in midfield, so let's put him in. That is a weird spot to put him in. So there he is. Haji Wright on Sunday, 90 minutes, 2 goals versus Millwall, 2 very good goals. Listen, say what you will, but Haji Wright is a handful out there. Like other teams have a real rough time handling his ability to play with his back to goal. Like he's a pain in the ass if you're Millwall. Okay. You want to play this now? I still got other players to go through.
I'll hold off. I'm going to go ahead and finish them up.
Okay.
We'll talk about them last.
Sabi, 65 in a loss for Le Havre. Balogun, 10 minutes in a win. Looking like he's getting less and less minutes. Start to get concerned.
I heard, or Tack posted on Twitter that he missed a sitter.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, if his form is going down, if his forms continue going down, I know Max had said, "Hey, let's get him through Copa. Copa could be his tournament." But at what point do we say, "Well, I mean, Sargent's firing on all cylinders, Pepi's scoring goals, Haji's scoring goals"? I mean, would people be pissed if Berhalter opted to not bring Ballo?
There probably would be a segment of people who would be pissed.
What if he brings Ballo but doesn't play him?
Well, I guess. Well, again, we talked about this with Max. Does Balogun really fit in with Berhalter's cross mania?
Yeah.
Cross the ball mania setup and system of play? Not really. Not really. Reports from Monaco is they are struggling to find a fit for Ballo.
Apparently Berhalter coaches there as well.
Yeah, well, he's a speed merchant, and he's not just a speed merchant, but he's not the kind of guy you throw in the box that's a poacher. He's not a poacher. He's not a guy that gets on the end of crosses with his head. So I mean, he's just a great through ball guy. Maybe play him out wide. Maybe he's a winger option. Who knows?
It's funny though that the Monaco would go and spend the money on a player that necessarily wouldn't fit their system.
Well,
they had to have been paying attention to him the previous year.
Yeah, you would think they would
Like,
know.
hey, here's this guy. I know he doesn't fit our system, but he scored a shit ton of goals last season.
Did you say Monaco or Monaco?
Monaco.
Okay. I've heard people say Monaco. I just my ears. All right. True. Brooks, red card accumulation. Card accumulation. He wasn't allowed to play.
You got 2 blue cards?
No, he got 2 oranges.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Musa, 25. Pulisic, 81, and which was a mostly frustrating game to watch. I mean, Pulisic did so much goddamn running and played so much defense.
They played down the left the entire game.
It's frustrating, dude.
In fact, they didn't play it really to the right until he got subbed off. That was so frustrating.
It is. It's like you got another guy out there, but I do notice that Pulisic drops so back far to play defense, whereas Leao kind of lingers. He doesn't really drop all the way into defense most of the time.
Well, that's what his coach mentioned. He goes, I like Pulisic because he covers a lot in defense, and we don't necessarily ask that of Leo. So.
It's frustrating to watch, though, dude, because you're right. It was like, okay, we're just going to play down the opposite side of the field the whole fucking game.
Yep.
Because that's what basically happened. And Pulisic looked frustrated when he came off. Musa had a great moment where what's his face should have scored. Greatest assist moment. And that was a blown opportunity. But I thought he looked really solid out there for his 25 minutes. Here's another guy that's putting in the minutes and just looking good every game.
Mm-hmm.
Luca De La Torre. Yes, Celta lost. I get it. They lost 3-2. But to Getafe, I think it was. What a goddamn fucking workhorse that guy is. And unlike Pulisic's situation, they do go down. He started at right midfield in this game as in a 4-4 standard 4-4-2 and looked really good. But he looks good every game for the most part.
Yeah.
So another guy throwing himself into the midfield discussion. God, we are loaded at midfield. Like we are blessed with Cardoso and fucking Luca De La Torre and Musa and McKennie and Adams whenever he gets back. I mean, we only got 2 spots if you're playing a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah. Luca De La Torre is Ice, however you want to say it. Says he's a dog.
He is a dog.
I think he's actually he's an African dog.
Oh Jesus! Don't ruin it. All right, Mackenzie went 90 in a tie for Genk. Let me say, Genk is just horrible this season. I know they lost a bunch of players in both of the last 2 transfer windows, but god damn, for being dominant last season for big portions of the league to being like whatever they are now, 7th, 8th. Not good. Booth, another 2 goals for Booth. That's 5 goals, 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made the team of the week.
Bring him back in the conversation because this is the Booth we were seeing last season, and he's back for the last 2 games. If he continues to play like this and start every game, he could have a lot more goals by the end of the season. And then we're going to seriously have to start talking about Booth again. I'm not ready to do it. I want to see him continue. The rest of the season's only 2 games. So, he played Volendam and his brother in 1 game. And, he's not playing exactly the best teams in the last 2 games. So, but it's goals. Des, 77. Solid, usual 77. Should have had an assist. Pepi, 13 minutes and a goal. And Tillman, 13. He was rather anonymous in his 13. And Zach, that was against Zach Booth's Volendam. So they're playing a horrible team.
God, the Volendam looked so good the first 20 some odd minutes. I thought Booth was going to have a goal.
Yep.
There were a couple of opportunities, and I'm like, oh man, this is not the PSV I'm used to seeing. And then I flip off of it, and I come back, and I'm like, oh shit, they just won 5.
Yeah,
just or whatever it was.
Slaughtered it.
Damn.
But Zach Booth is another guy to at least give some credit to. And he probably won't be released for the Olympics either because he isn't too important of a player for Volendam, who's near the bottom. I think they are at the bottom of the table.
Well, by the time they're getting released,
Vitesse.
by the time they get released for, like, say, the Olympics is what I'm assuming you're referring to, they'll likely be relegated.
Yeah, it's looking that way, along with Vitesse. But, Aronson's there, Paxton, for the ride. He's not there. He's not staying there. Pepi's goal, we already talked about at length. Green and Dietz both went 90 for Greuther Fürth. That is not a surprise. They are locked-in starters for that team. They did lose, which is sad because they're fighting for an automatic promotion spot, and we were hoping that would happen. They've been looking great all season, but this is a rather poor game, as from what I read. Did not watch it. Stanko, 46 minutes for Lamia. In Greece, they are currently sitting 6th in the league. EPB, I don't know. Looks like he's still fucking injured. I mean, this is the longest injury, groin injury, I think it was, in the history of man. Cowell, 30 minutes in a win. Didn't score in that game. Saucedo he played against Chivas, played against Juarez, and the guy we always compare him to, Sebastian Saucedo, for Juarez, and Saucedo was in the 18 but didn't play. So the other Cal, the player we used to always compare Cal to, Sebastian Saucedo, one-trick pony, didn't play. Cal did. Cal looks a lot better than Sebastian Saucedo ever has, though. I got to say that. Brendan Vasquez did not dress. I'm not sure why. Justin Che, 85, and a win for Adeo. Again, he's playing and starting every game now for Adeo. That was not the case at the beginning of the season, so that's good news. Conrad did not dress at all for Ibar. At all. Not even dress. So what's going on there? And he's not listed on any injury list. Chris Richards, 90 in a loss today, along with McKennie, 90 in a loss today. And by the way, Chris Richards played center back. I have not been able to get home and watch the game yet. I'm going to watch it right after the show just to see how we did. Weah, 61 in that same loss with McKennie and listen, that's not working. It's not working with McKennie and Weah on the same side in that 3-5. I think it's a 3-5, right? 3-5-2. What are they playing there?
Yeah. I think it's predominantly the fact that it's just that Weah wants to pinch in and get into the attack and get into the middle. And maybe that's something that the coach lets him have freedom to do. I don't know. He seems to do it, and he doesn't seem to be losing out many minutes for it. But
my problem is that when Weah goes forward, it forces McKennie to become the right back.
Sure.
And then right back, he's out of the offense. So, yeah, you're throwing Weah forward to play an attacking winger, and then he pinches in. And that forces McKennie to back out of the box and play right back and play the safety role, which sucks because McKennie's really good in the attack. He's great on the pass. He's great. So it's really been irritating to watch them play on the exact same side and flip-flop positions all game and nothing happening. I frankly don't know why Weah just play him as a striker. Play him as a striker for a game.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I would do at this point. I mean, why not? He's got the pace to get behind the defense. It opens up the opportunities to play the ball on the ground and not necessarily just playing it out wide and bringing it across. It offers a different look up top. And he plays a lot up there when he's playing, even at the right wing back spot. He's still playing a lot up top. And he's cutting into the center almost all the time.
But nobody passes it to him, though. That's the weird thing. Maybe he's not getting in open spaces. But when McKennie's playing that right midfield spot, without the responsibility of having to play defense, a right back or cover the right back spot, he's just a lot more effective for Juventus. And you're kind of disrupting the way Juventus usually play when Weah's on, because Weah takes up the space that McKennie usually takes. And just McKennie's better at doing it than Weah is. I'm sorry. So I don't know.
Fumar says he can't be any worse than Juve's nines at this point.
That's so true.
Vlahovic is fine.
But he's out with red card or injury.
I was going to make a comment early before the game started. I was hoping that Malik doesn't actually get a red card this match because this was his first game back. Had a goal called back, of course, but yeah, I think Weah would do just as well up there as he is. Michael even talks about how Chiesa didn't look good. I don't think that's the best role for him because he plays up there. He was playing up there with Malik. I think he's better suited to play out wide and cut in the Pulisic role for Juventus. That's what he used to do.
You got to do something, though. Juventus can't win every game 1-0. Well, and in this case, lose it 1-0.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and but yeah, it's Chiesa used to play out left. He used to play out left, which gave him the free range to move up the pitch. Like I said, similar to Pulisic. And what he usually does, he still does it, but the problem is he's doing it so high up the pitch that it doesn't have quite as good of productivity. Is he does the cut in and then takes a shot. Very much like I'm going to base it down here, but it's kind of like what Cade Cal does. He dribbles down the left-hand side, cuts it into the right, aims that far post. He can do much more than Cade Cal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making that comparison by any means, but that's similar type of movement. Which is why I was saying that I don't think Chiesa's best role for Juve would be up top as one of those two strikers in that scenario.
And I don't even think Chiesa is the problem.
No, I don't think so either. I just don't think it's his best role.
The system setup is just, and we've said this all season, watching Juventus is a chore. It's not even enjoyable. Now it's gotten better recently, but boy, this game was a stinker to watch. And I just finished, I wasn't even done watching it when the show started. So, but it was boring. I don't know. They need to change something. Maybe the manager. I don't know. They need to change something.
I did want to bring up, I think it was Laverdad mentioned it earlier in the chat, that Zach Booth is on loan. So his option is to end. He won't be going down regardless.
Oh,
to Leicester. So
to Leicester. Okay.
Now, who knows what's going to happen at Leicester, if he's going to get loaned out again or if he's going to be in contention to move up with them and maybe fight for a spot at that point. We'll see what happens, I guess. But
that's a whole nother level up, brother.
I still don't think he's going to get released for the Olympics, is what we were saying.
Well, if he's at Leicester, he might. If he goes back.
Well, I mean, he's going up, so who knows?
To Leicester, he's not an important player, but to Volendam, he is very important. I got Benji Michel did not dress for Aruka. Rick Van Hees went 90 for Utrecht's 2-team in a loss. That player to keep an eye on. I mean, he's young. Utrecht 2 starts every game, goes 90 every game. So that's it. That is the Yanks Abroad report. Do you have any other topics, Brett?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you know,
right
shit.
here.
Oh, yeah. Gotta watch this. It's funny.
All right. Let's listen to Tech give Derek props.
Oh.
I do want to say one thing. A big thank you to Derek from the Straight Red Card for teaching me how to properly pronounce the name of the club that Gabriel Sonina currently plays. I've been calling it Eupen, but he taught me, and here it goes. It's called Eupen, almost as if you're like a pirate saying Eupen. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but thank you, Derek, and he's probably watching the video. If you guys made it this far, drop a like in the video. Now let's talk about the Americans that play.
Cool. That is so good to see. I hope Pete fixes it too. And we're, obviously we mispronounce shit all the time on this show. We try to get it right. But when somebody tells us, we try to fix it, right? We don't continue to say the wrong thing over and over again, unless by accident, like Vasquez.
Gio Reyna.
Well, that one, yeah, that's just a pain in the ass, right? It's a pain in the ass because it comes out so easily and it's hard to fix it. So it was a great show. That was fun, right?
Yeah.
You did it all from MLS headquarters, which I'm surprised they haven't thrown you out, but they don't know you've burgled your way in there yet.
Well, they realized I was talking with Max, so they kind of gave me a pass.
Oh, bullshit. That's a side swipe at Max. All right. Before we end, I do have to say, you ever seen those the porns where the guys like swallow every drop? And you're like, dude, you're missing you're splattering all over the place. How is she supposed to swallow every drop? It's one of those cheesy
Matrix style.
It's just cheesy as fuck. Don't even say that. Swallow every drop and then miss completely. I mean, that's on you. How she was supposed to swallow it? I guess you want her to clean the floor. The fuck is that, dude? Although we've seen that in porn too. By the way,
there be no acting by the male part in the role, just Only female acting.
Exactly. Just do your business. Get the fuck off. All right.
Nothing worse than having the camera that's always up by the face, and you just hear the guy going.
I hate that.
Me out of the role here. Stop it.
I don't want to see the dude. Get the dude off the camera. Just focus on whatever elder part. Her. Focus on her. Also want to. This is weird. I just learned that Mainz also uses "Never Walk Alone," so that's now 4 clubs that use the song. Never walk alone, you'll never walk alone. Can we limit that? 4 teams, 5 teams now use this? I guess. But I guess it's not, at least it's not Seven Nation Army, which I think we're all sick of hearing Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes at events. That and We Are the Champions is getting a little old. I mean, I've been listening to it for 40 fucking years, played at sports events, and it's a little annoying. And what was the other one that the Chicago Bulls used to use? That one's not that old because it's kind of cool. Anyhow, so that's going to be the show for tonight, Brad. Unless Brad has something else to, you got nothing else, right?
No.
Well, I want to make sure that you guys subscribe to the show. If you're watching this and you've been watching the whole goddamn show, make sure you like it. Subscribe to the show. Buy a fucking t-shirt. Go down in the description. You'll find. Oh, I'm not wearing the t-shirt tonight. But if I were, I'd show it off because it's badass. We have some great stuff. There's mugs, beer glasses. What else we got there? Dildos. Probably something weird. Yet. Oh, we don't have dildos yet, but we're working on it.
We got the cast made.
Did you make it out of that one that EB made you buy at the porn store?
It's the weirdest thing. You got to dip it in and
the 10-incher. All right. Until the next time on the Straight Red Card, you can use that 10-incher on your stepsister. It's totally legal, and we will see you on Thursday. Good night.
But she's a trap. She's an unsung novel. Turn a lap and get your whole world dazzled on the line, or a phone call with or without wine.
That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What?